want to lead the NDC, testing the grounds and all of that. So Musa Danko has done some work on that as well. Some names have come up, and of course, there are people who think that his post about the governing party is a distraction to the government. The government will have to focus, and Musa's work is not making them focus. But Musa also thinks that you have to focus. If you're a government, you have to focus. We'll look at all of that. Do you have any preference for who leads the NPP or who leads the NDC? Is it too early for persons in the NDC barely settling in government to be thinking about who succeeds John Mahama? What are the ramifications of that, really? We will look at that as well. And even in respect of that, Dr. Bawumia appears to be doing well from Musa Danko's polls in the Akan areas. What's accounting for that? We have Akans in the race, and he's the only non-Akan, but he appears to be doing very well in the Akan areas, way better than the real Akans. What's the trick there? What's the matter there? We'll look at that as well. So Musa Danko is my guest for the first few minutes or first hour of the program. We also look at the DSTV price row. Sam George says it's achieved its objective and even more. Some people say, no, that wasn't what he promised. Opposition MPs have said that he has to resign or the president must sack him because he does not have the emotional intelligence and the temperament to lead a critical ministry as the communications sector. What are your views on that? The majority side of parliament thrown their weight behind him, saying that he's delivering, he's done well. But you as a public, what do you think? What is your view on what Sam George has done in respect of the DSTV pricing? You stay where you are, but you'll be upgraded when you renew your subscription. Also, there are people who say, yes, stay there, let them upgrade you, or you can drop one step, they upgrade you, you come back to where you were initially, and that is immense cost savings or reduction for you, just that has come in a different way. This whole thing about promotion or not promotion, etc., DSTV put out some FAQs, which they later said was an error, and that the deal is the deal, and that in 3 months' time, the stakeholders will meet and review the impact. So it's not a promotion after all, contrary to what they said earlier. What do you make of all of this? We'll be interested to know, and my guests will deal with the matters as well. Now, Ghana's Galamsey fight. The president met the CSOs on what he's been doing about the problem. He made a number of comments. We will look at all of that. Were you impressed by the president's meeting and statement to the CSOs? What should the CSOs take from this meeting? We have all of that for you this morning. We have a rich array of guests this morning who will be helping us deal with the matters. I'll take a short break. When I return, I will share with you our text lines because it's a very interactive show so that we have the discussion started. My name is Salam Adunu. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back. This is A Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM. We are on ChannelOne television. We are also on YouTube as well. It's a live and interactive show. You can join the discussion via our WhatsApp lines on 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. And we'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. 3 things we are tackling this morning. Musa Danko is in the studio. We'll look at his latest October poll and what is in it. Some names have come up, NDC, MPP. We'll look at that. Also, DSTV price row. What do you make of Sam George's intervention and the result he made? Others say, great, super, he's done well. Others also say this wasn't what he promised. He promised reduction of costs and money remaining in our pockets. But we have value addition. Others say, well, no problem. You can downgrade yourself one, and then by the system, you'll be upgraded. So you'd have made savings for your pockets. We'll look at that. Now, Galamsey, it's a matter we'll continue to deal with until we have a proper resolution of it. So you don't have to get tired with it because we are not tired with it. The environment is crying, is suffering, is dying, and we don't have to be tired of fighting for the environment. So we'll look at the Galamsey fight. The president met the CSOs this week, and we'll analyze what he told them and what we can take from that. Were you impressed by the comments and the submissions on both sides? There were presentations from the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, from NIMOS, and a few other people the CSOs ask questions, the president answers the questions and all of that. What do you make of that? Do we have a clear plan? The president says it's not a time for state of emergency, that when he is advised by the National Security Council, he'll be happy to do that. It does appear that they say they are doing well, or they are reclaiming some lands. There were some interesting pictures that the minister showed in his presentation to the people. Very interesting. Are you impressed about the fight so far? Do you feel government commitment towards resolving the Galamsey menace? What are your thoughts? You can send that to us on 020-444-7033, and we'll be happy to share that with the rest of the world. Let me provide you some updates, then we can begin our first part of it, which has Musa Dankwa in the studio, and will be joined also by Larry Dogbe at some point to analyze the polls. So, a new poll conducted by the Global InfoAnalytics has revealed that Tamale South MP Haruna Idrisu is currently the front-runner in the race to lead the National Democratic Congress into the 2028 general elections. According to the September survey, Haruna Idrisu commands a significant lead among NDC supporters and in key swing regions. In the multi-candidate poll, he secured 30% support ahead of the NDC National Chairman, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who polled 24%, and Finance Minister Dr. Kesiel Atufosin, who garnered 18%. Other potential contenders recorded considerably lower support levels. In a separate matchup, the poll also shows NDC Chairman Asiedu Nketia narrowly leading Vice President Dr. Bawumia in a hypothetical 2028 presidential contest. The survey places Asiedu Nketia at 50% of national voter support, with Bawumia close behind at 45%. The remaining 5% of respondents expressed preference for an alternative candidate. These findings point to a potentially tight race between two political heavyweights, with Asiedu Nketia holding a slim 5-point edge over the NPP's Dr. Bawumia. Well, Musa, welcome to the program. Always a pleasure to have you. You've been doing monthly polls on a number of issues, political issues really, looking at the NDC and the MPP. What really do you hope to achieve with these monthly polls?
Let me clarify. We do quarterly national tracking poll every 3 months. But in the case of the MPP, because their primary is just near, we are doing monthly delegate polls.
Monthly delegate
so
polls.
for the MPP, we are talking to delegates every month, whereas in the case of national tracking, it is quarterly.
Okay, great.
Look, we have been doing this since 2019, and we have sought to provide the public the platform to hear the views of others. You know, your voice, just your voice. But your voice, when aggregated, becomes the voice of the people. So what we are doing is just bringing out what people are thinking and saying about national issues. And for the conversation to be kind of focused on data rather than hearsay. So what we're hoping to do is to inform and also educate people what people are saying to us they want to do. And we make it very clear that these are the preferences of voters. And then when it is delegate, because it's a delegate who elect the flag bearers, we make it clear, in this case, it is the delegate. We have not done delegates for the NDC, no. What we have done is delegates for MPP and the general public preferences for the NDC.
Yes, so talking about that, how do you select a sample? Delegates are specific people.
Yes.
You know, we don't know all of them. Of course, a lot of them are known. So how do you identify them and poll them? How do you do that?
We have the register of MPP delegates with their telephone numbers. And we place random calls to each of these people, depending on the sample size. We allocate the sample size to each region based on the number of delegates who live there. So it's proportionally weighted. And then the calls are made randomly from the system to those delegates. In fact, in this survey that we just released, the 2,700 people we interviewed, they came from 241 constituencies, randomly.
I see. So now let's get into it. The MPP is going for primaries in January, and a number of persons have, expressed interest, or actually picked forms to run. The persons include Dr. Bawumia, 2024 flag bearer, former vice president, Kennedy Japan, who entered the last race quite late, but people were impressed with his performance. Educhum, Yahweh Educhum, former education minister. Kwabna Ejipon is in there, and then Brian Champon, who is a first-timer, same as Yahweh Educhum. What really are the polls saying in respect of these people?
There are two polls in this report. First one is the general public perception about who they prefer to lead MPP. And on that score, Bawumia leads with 57.4% among all voters. Kennedy on 29.3% among all voters. Yahweh Educhum 6%, Brian Champon 4.6%, and Kwabna Ejipon 3.3%. But if you look at the delegates separately, then that looks a different picture. With the delegates, what you have is Bawumia leading with 47%, Kennedy Ejipon 17%, Brian Achampon 3%, Yao Ose Educhum 1%, and Kwabna Ejipon 1%. But there are 4% of delegates who said they will not disclose their voting to us. And then another 27% said they are undecided.
Usually, from your experience, when people say they won't disclose or they are undecided, what does that mean?
Usually what we've seen in the past is that those who are not disclosing are those who are anti-system, anti-establishment in the party, and they tend to vote for Kennedy. So from our experience, those guys could be safely said to be Kennedy supporters. Then you have those who are undecided. Some of them are generally undecided, but most of them, I think they are waiting to have an encounter with the delegate, with the flag bearers, to see what message they have for them. And also behind the message, or beside the message, there are things that happen in primaries, so they are waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, what do you mean by there are things that happen in primaries?
Fear delegates.
Fear delegates.
Yes.
All right. So, Dr. Bawumia, Kennedy Japan, etc. We saw a very strong showing from Kennedy Japan in the last election, even though he did not enter the race early. But he appears to be significantly trailing Dr. Bawumia. What was the reason for that? What factors in your view?
No, I mean, you can't compare directly the results for last year's election with this data. Because this one has undisclosed in it, and I'm undecided in it. If you remove those and realign the numbers, you could see that, I mean, if you compare this like for like, and I think the last poll we did before the primaries last time, in that poll, I think DMB was around 45%. Kennedy was around 25%. And the rest were there. But there were a good chunk who were undecided as well, and those who were not disclosing. So if you compare this one, it's like a similar race compared to last time. And nothing has changed significantly if you do that kind of comparison.
I see. What's the reason people give for supporting Bawumia against persons like Kennedy Japan, who, like you said, is anti-establishment, appears to be speaking the language of the street, etc. What reasons do you glean is
I will pin this down to two factors. One, Bawumia has been the face of MPP since 2008. He's been on every election since then. So he's the familiar face for many people, including the delegates. So that makes it easier for him to be recognized and probably wanting to have him back on the ticket again. But another point, which is the second point, is that the MPP delegates are conservatives. They are much older people, and the older you are, the less vibrant and dynamic and change you want to have. These people want to go with what they know, and they kind of dominate the MPP album. So because of that, they tend not to buy into change messages. And that is what I think Kennedy, if he needs to make an impact, has to drive home and change the mindset.
I see. Now let's get to the Akan block, or the ethnicity bit, which is a very slippery issue, but actually playing a role in all of this.
Yes.
There are 4 Akans against 1 non-Akan, but it does appear that the non-Akan is actually doing better in the Akan areas or amongst the Akan voters than the Akans themselves. We have two Ashantis, one Easterner, and then one Fanti in there. It does appear that the Northerner or the non-Akan is doing better than all of them in the Akan areas. What is accounting for that?
You know, it is still the name.
So you can see that on your screen, voters' preference for MPP leadership, the Akan bloc. Bawumia is around 53%, Kennedy Japan 34%, Duchum 6%, Brandy Champon 4%, and then Kobna Japan 3%.
Look, we must understand the very reason why MPP wanted Bawumia to represent the party in the last election. One is to make sure that not just Akans, but non-Akans see him as welcome him. And they want to de-Akanize somehow the party. So the party, some of them believe that, look, it is important we have a broader appeal. And that broader appeal sometimes means that we have to support somebody who's not one of us. And I think you can see that from what Bawumia is doing in the Akan areas. And indeed, if you look at the other Akan candidates, they are splitting their own vote. If they had joined together forces, you could see that they will probably be around 47. Then we'll have a very tight race. But because they are fragmented, you expect Bawumia to have a lead there.
Even, how about religion? Because we've seen religion also come up a bit. Even recently, we saw Reverend Intim Fojo, who is a pastor and MP for Asin South, say that he is a pastor and that God is not a respecter of persons. Dr. Bawumia is the right person to lead the party. And I thought it was strategic because he is a pastor. So if you're talking about religion, this is a leader of a religious group or a religious subset in the Christian, side of things, coming to endorse a Muslim. How significant is religion in these primaries?
Look, we can pretend to be ostriches in this country, but the data doesn't say so. There are a big number of voters who use religion to vote when they have no any other reason to use to discriminate against a candidate. The polling shows that roughly about 10% of voters say religion is important to them. At 10%. Now, if you have a very close, tightly run election, that could be significant. Now, if you have about 18.5 million votes, then 10% is about 1.8 million. So that is significant. Now, there are people or some certain religious sects that are not too much worried about religion of a candidate. The Orthodox churches, the Presbyterians, the Catholics, the Anglicans and Methodists, they are more liberal in the way they see religion.
But the Pentecostals
and Charismatics, they are the problem.
And the Charismatics.
They are the problem. I mean, we cannot deny that. That's a reality. That's a fact of life. And they are the ones who are really anti kind of Bawumia in MPP.
But in the past, Bawumia has done quite some work in bridging that gap by, hobnobbing with the leadership of those bodies. We've seen him at places with Duncan Williams, with all of these people. I don't know how significant those.
I think that may even have cost him. Because you see, we don't really have a religious tension in this country.
Yes.
So to try to say that you are bridging the gap suggests that there was a problem in the first place. So that was seen to be.
But he didn't say. But
no, he didn't say. But people read.
Saw him,
people read into that.
Close interactions with these people.
People read into that, and that to some extent it cost him a bit. I think.
Was it not a way of making the Christian community comfortable with him?
But it was misread and misunderstood, and probably to some extent, some of them felt that look, it was an opportunism.
Wow, I see. Now let's get back to it. The Northern Bloc solidly behind him in the slides, or in the work, we see that Dr. Bawumia pulls 73% among the Northern Bloc regions, the 5 regions of the North. Kennedy Japan makes only 17, Duchum 4, Brady Champon 4, and then Engineer Kobna Japan just 2%. So the Northerners are actually in for their person. Perhaps they want one of their own to be up there. Of course, one of their own is still up there, but they appear to be more discriminatory
Yes.
in this sense than the accounts have.
Yes, and being the only northerner in the race, you expect them to kind of coalesce around him. And then you see fragmentation again among the other candidates. So it's natural that you see him in the north like that and getting the northern support.
So comparing this to the account block, the account block, that's interesting because the accounts haven't appeared to coalesce around their candidates. Indeed, when you look at the account picture again, when you put everything the account candidates are making,
47.
They still don't equal Bawumia's 53.
No.
What's apart from the fact that the NPP wants to de-accanize, if that's a good phrase to use.
The second reason is that, look, the new entrants into the race have not been successful in chipping away Bawumia's numbers, even in the account areas. What we have seen happen is that they are trading vote among themselves. Rather than going to Bawumia's column and get the numbers, they are rather moving from either Kennedy to Educhum, or from Educhum to Bernard Champon. So they might just circulating around. They need to move into somebody's column, which is Bawumia. And at the moment, we haven't seen that happening yet.
So Bawumia's main trump card is the fact that he is known.
Yes.
He's been the face of the party for a long time, and people are comfortable with him because they feel it may not take a lot to market him. He's already marketable, marketed quite well. He's been on the ballot for the last election, and he's the guy to go. That is his main trump card. So if he were a new entrant, the dynamics would have changed greatly.
I think so, and that's what the delegates are telling us. I mean, you speak to them, and they tell you why they are choosing this person or that person, even though we are not asking them for reasons why they choose A or B. But in the conversation, they tell you why they are choosing this person. And mostly, the reason has been that he's been there for long. We know him. He's been well marketed. If the president bring him again, we think we can have it easier than new candidates.
I see. Now let's look at the voter block, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Bawumia still leads among the voter people, but significantly
Lower.
Reduced. 44%. Interestingly, Kennedy Japan rises, quite well, 31%. Brani Champon makes 11. Japan makes 9, and Educhu makes 5%. What accounts for this?
The last election, Kennedy won voter region. It shows that it's still very strong. Now, you look at what Brian and Ajay Japan are getting, almost 20%. I think these numbers are numbers that could have gone to Kennedy, but they didn't go to Kennedy. So they are fragmented. The number of accounts trading vote is really hurting the opposition against Bawumia.
I see. And when you look at the swing regions, Bawumia significantly wins as well. Bawumia wins almost everywhere.
Every block, yes.
Every block Bawumia wins.
Yes.
What does that mean? That the people still comfortable with him?
Yes, numbers are what we are seeing here. Bawumia is 57%, much higher than, almost the same as the national average in terms of what he gets in the swing regions. And Kennedy is slightly above the national average, with 29%. So you can see that he does well here. It's because central region is part of this swing regions. And in the central region, he does well. So the numbers he gets in central region kind of propel him to go beyond the national average.
I see. So what should a person like Kennedy, who obviously appears like the second in the race, what should he be doing to bridge the gap, or if possible,
look, I'm not here to advise any campaign, but
from what you hear from
the numbers are saying that Bawumia is close to 50%. So for Ken to win, he needs to drag down Bawumia to lower 40s, or if he can, to upper 38s. In that way, you could see a runoff. But where Bawumia is, it is very likely he will get just a few or handful of those who are undecided, and that could put him over the top. And that is not a good place for Ken to be. Ken needs to drag Bawumia down. We have October, November, December, even January to go. I don't know how he will be able to do that in the next coming months.
Now let's talk about the sample size, or the persons you polled. What would be the demographics? What kinds of people did you poll, and what are their expectations of the kinds of leaders they are looking for? Okay.
This leadership question was posed to all Ghanaians, not delegates. Now, if you look at the people we poll, who are typically the average Ghanaian voter, they are much younger population. you know, about 78% of the sample we polled were below 44 years, or 44 and 18 years. That is 78% of them. We asked them what they think about the future leadership of this country, whether they believe Ghana should be led by young leaders or not. 64% of the sample said, yes, Ghana must be led by young leaders. 12% said, no, it shouldn't be led by young leaders. And 24% said they were neutral, whether young or old, they don't care. But majority of them, 64%, said they want to be led by young leaders. And if we just suppose this with the population, which is about 78% below 44, then this is a clear message that will have impact in the future elections of this country.
I see. When you look at the regional breakdown, it does appear that persons in OT and Upper West think that we need more young leaders.
Yes,
actually.
Yes.
I see. Now let's get to the NDC side of things. A number of the NDC hasn't opened nominations. The party is just settling into power. But a number of people have their names being thrown about. And the context really is that the NDC will not repeat John Mahama in the next election. By the end of this term, he would have done his 2 terms. And so that opens the floodgates for persons who want to run or who wants to lead a party to start, work. A number of persons came up. Haruna Idrisu, Asedu Nketia, Ato Forsin, Julius Debra, Okujeto Ablakwa, Eric Opoku, Agric Minister Professor Joshua Alabi, Amako Fiboa, Kwame Iwada, Conspio Gabra, and Oko Vanderpoy. But in all of these, it does appear that majority of the people for now appear to be, gravitating towards Haruna Idrisu and Asedu Nketia and Ato Forsin. Haruna Idrisu hasn't said much lately on whether he's running or not. Of course, nobody has said, but we've seen some movements around for Asedu Nketia and Julius Zebra especially, having walks, having thank you tours, etc. These are indicative events of persons who want to run. We've not seen anything around Haruna Idrisu. Why then are people thinking that he is the most preferred in the race?
No, that is the view from the street. Who do you prefer? He may decide not to run. But the people are saying that they prefer him to lead. At the moment, around 30% of the vote. So the fact that they prefer that you contest and lead doesn't mean that you would contest. So these are a list of people we believe are capable of running, contesting in NDC. Some of them, through backdoor channels, we were informed that they have some interest. And some of them, rightly so, they want to see whether it is worth even starting any activity at all. So for some of them, this is very insightful. And that what they may be thinking that they are may not be what is on the ground. So it kind of helps people to make decisions quickly, not to waste their time going around doing anything. So it provides some sanity into your future aspirants that you may have.
I see. But how do these names come up? Is it that you tell them who do you think will win, or you give them names to them?
Who would you prefer,
Yes.
to lead NDC?
And the names come up on their own?
No, we have names that we've given to them. And we also have someone else.
Okay.
If the names that we have given to you, you don't see your choice in it, you say someone else. And someone else, who do you have in mind? Then we have to give a chance to free will, tell us who you want.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, Haruna leads this, but the vice president is not in the list because perhaps her name...
It is our decision. Look, she was in the first survey we did in April. Then after that, she was taken ill. And when she came back, she tried to come back to the government. And as posters, sometimes you make some judgment calls. We also looked at how old she would be in 2028 and what the dynamics today are in terms of what we are being told. Remember, 64% of the 78% are saying they want young people. And that tends to skew against that age bracket. So on our own, we felt we should take it out and to see how the race changes with her not being in the race. It is also something that we use as insight to see how her vote dispersed. And then also, look, there are certain names we know will not contest, but they are there for strategic reasons. From certain block, we have the voter block, we have a black one there. We have the GAM block, which is the Professor Alabi and Oko van der Poel. And we have the Akan block and Modern block. We want to know the alliances. If this person is not in the race, where does the block move to? For us, it's what makes us clever in projecting who could win in the future. So this data may be seen to be useless, but for us, it's the gold mine.
Haruna Idrisu, was it last week or so, met the vice president met him, and in their conversation, he said he was praying for her or hoping that she would rise to the topmost position as president. Given that he is leading your polls and he is wishing somebody would take up that is interesting, is that not?
Oh yes, it's interesting. Maybe if we introduce the vice president back in, we'll see maybe the race may change. But look, I think this country is looking ahead. Now, if you go into the data about who would you prefer to lead the country, the young or old leaders, interesting thing is that, look, the demography of the people, let me tell you, among those who said they want young to lead, every demography by age, by popularity, say young people. People between 18 and 24, 73% of them want young leaders. 25 to 34, 68% young leaders. 35 to 44, 60% young leaders. 45 to 54, 57% young leaders. 55 to 64, 62% young leaders. Even 65 people want young leaders to lead the country. It's a consensus across every demography of age in this country. They probably have seen what the old people have performed. They want to try their own age mates.
I see. So we have Atufosin there, we have Julius Debra there, we have Okudjota Blakwa, etc. Do you know whether, of course, Mahama hasn't said he's supporting anybody, he's just focusing on his work for now.
No.
But does it matter who he supports?
Look, it could have consequences. Both plus and negatives. And I think we shouldn't think that we can hoodwink any group of people, voters of this country, to go a certain direction.
If he's very popular in the party and he gives indication that this is a person he's comfortable with,
it will have impact. You see, the impact could be negative and positive. There are those who will be happy that he's given an endorsement to somebody. And there are those who feel the party will be torn apart if he does that. Remember in Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta went against Ruto. He went to endorse a candidate. He went, but the party didn't go with him. Let that be a lesson.
I see. Then other names like Oko van der Poel, Spielgabra, people think it's a spent force. He's been around for a long time. He's lost the spark, etc. So it's interesting that he finds himself here. Oko van der Poel, not much activity around him. Also quite interesting that he finds himself in the numbers, in the names here.
Look, what we intend to do is that going forward, we don't want to have a long list of aspirations or people who, in the end, will not feature. So there will be a rule we will have to apply that if you don't make in at least 5% of the national support, you will be among someone else. So that we have a very sensible list. So this list that we have, you can see that the top 5 are Blakwa, Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, Atufosin, Asedin Ketia, and Haruna. This may be the list that we'll finally use in the future, but there will be room for someone else. And if that someone else keep popping up and doing a good number, then we'll add him to the criteria.
Let's talk about Asedin Ketia. He's chairman of the party. One of the most popular, if not, apart from the president, the most well-known or popular persons in the NDC. He has power. He wields quite some power. National chairman, been general secretary for many, many years. He's overseeing the election of all these delegates, etc. And he will, as chairman, oversee the election of these delegates, etc. People think he has a stronghold on the delegates, and it's very likely that will go in his favor, or that will be to his advantage. So
far, we haven't seen any polling yet. You see, perception may not be reality. We have not released any public poll on the delegates. So let's wait and see. But I believe that, you see, There's going to be a demographic changes in NDC delegates. At the moment, NDC delegates, they are a lot younger than the MPP delegates. And they will go into election to elect their policy executives. And it's more likely it will get younger because of what we've seen on the ground. Now, if these delegates get younger, it will really make it hard for the older guys. So the demographic changes, there's nothing you can do about it. It will happen naturally. But when that happens, it's the moment of the time that determines who lead NDC.
Daniel is texting to ask why Gusitano is not featuring in the list.
I don't want to say it, but we had him there and we got him out.
Why did you get him out? 24-hour economy, major plank of the government.
We were contacted.
That you should take him out?
Yes.
Because he's not interested?
Whatever the reason was, we took him out. We gave people chance to add to the list or take us from the list. And he was taken out.
I see. And the NDC generally appears, as we sit or as we speak, to be quite more popular even in swing regions in the general race. I mean, the general party to party,
the head-to-head
race or polling. What, in your view, accounts for that? Is it because the party is new and the party is still enjoying the goodwill, or what's
Look,
it?
MPP is in a very difficult situation right now. And it starts from the party affiliation of people who openly say they are MPP on the street today compared to NDC. Openly on the street today, if you encounter voters, 42% of them will say we belong to NDC. MPP at the moment is 27%. That is 10 points lower than where they have been, where they were in October 2024. So MPP as a brand has been bruised. And that is affecting how their candidates would perform in the future. Now, they have to get their acts together and go up in the numbers in terms of party affiliation. Otherwise, it will be tough for them. And what we have seen in the head-to-head is a reflection of that, and also the perception of performance of the MPP in the last administration. That performance perception will hang on their neck for some time. They have to find a way of jettisoning it.
I see. So, in the head-to-head, it does appear that for all the candidates you pitched against the MPP's various candidates, the NDC appears to be doing better. Now, let's look at Haruna again and the JM factor. Haruna is from the northern region. JM is also from the northern bloc. There's the talk on the street that maybe a lot of Ghanaians will not want people from the same region to lead them twice. Did that find expression in your work?
Look, those may be misconception among voters. If that was really what on people's mind, he wouldn't be leading the pack in terms of what you saw. But again, I can say that if the race consolidates, you can see the accounts coming together and that will give them. But look, we are in the Gen Z era. Gen Zs who are less tribalistic and less religious, even though there is sentiment of religion in our politics, is mostly among older voters. Now, the problem I can see is that, look, it's typically for NDC. Unlike MPP, MPP base is about 65% Akan. So they can choose Akan any day, any time. There will be no problem. But with the NDC, it's a smaller group of 20% there, 30 here, 19 there. So you need the collection of all the blocks to come together to help you. If you are in that situation, you tend to compromise a lot. Now look, we have given you guys a 10. If you are done, the other groups, 3 blocks will say, oh, now it is our 10. So I think for the delegates, it is much more of a delegate issue than a national issue. So the delegates may think that, okay, Northerners have had their 10, let's try other blocks.
I see. This is the big issue on 97.3 City FM. We're also live on channel. You can join us via our WhatsApp lines displayed on the screen and on 0549 986 996 020 444 7033. I'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. Musa Dankwah is the executive director at the Global InfoAnalytics, conducts polls, and he's conducted he's done some work in October, and we are looking at these works So, I mean, let me speak to Hamza. But before that, Jones Adoboy in La says, good morning, Salam. Musa Dankwa has in recent times won all the credibility when it comes to surveys, but I want to tell him that with NDC, it is too early. He must allow the president to focus. The micro minority calling for some judges' resignation shows that they are not serious as a party. Even if some judge manages to get 0% DSTV, what percentage did the MPP manage to get in 8 years? They should give us a break. Well, that's two things put in one. Hamza, I'll come to you. The major concern, which a lot of people have raised really, is that for the NDC, it's too early. Leave the government to focus. And that doing this will be a distraction to governance.
Selo, we are a private, independent company. We do what our clients want. We have done this since 2019. We started the polling after Nanado has won the election. Just about a year after he's won the election, we started it. There are people, in fact, our clients, global clients, who are looking into 2028 and beyond, right? They want to have a feel of what the country is thinking. I don't think any person in government or in NDC should be distracted because of the polls. You have a job to do, focus on the job. Ghanaians are talking. I'm just telling you what they are saying. It doesn't mean that you leave your job and jump and start campaigning. That's not what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to inform and also help people to make decisions. Look, as we speak to you, we have been approached by some political party investors.
To skew the vote?
No, to see the outlook.
Okay.
As to who they can support in the future. Right? They want to know now. They're not saying it's too early.
So you're making money.
We're not making any money. We're running data. We're running data. People have come to look. There are companies, even like people like Fetch Solutions, other big research companies. They're not waiting for NDC to say that we are ready. No, they don't wait for NDC.
They want to know what's happening.
They want to know what's happening in the country.
So they can.
NDC can decide to take their eye off the polls. That is fine. They can do that, and they should do that. Look, it is much easier for Mahama to call his people to order than to call me to order, or he doesn't control me. Yeah,
but for example, if you have an Asidun Ketia, who we hear will run, or may run, doing thank you tour, if there are others in government who also have their eyes on it, they may obviously be distracted because this man is a free man. He's doing his party work and dealing with the people who eventually will vote.
But you see, I think next week we'll put out some data from polls we've done among NDC delegates about what they think about early jostling positions. Did they assess whether what they were doing was winning them vote or costing them vote? You don't join something because you think the person is leading or the person would come. You must also be guided by your own data. Some of the things that the early movers were doing were really annoying voters and even delegates. If it's an annoying delegate and annoying voters, it's not going to annoy to your advantage.
I see. This other message, says, as a proud delegate, I'm not surprised by Musa Dankwa's post showing Dr. Bawumia in the lead. His vision, humility, and proven track record make him the clear choice to unite our party and lead Ghana into the brighter future. Dr. Bawumia represents competence, innovation, and hope, and I believe delegates across the country will rally behind him come January 31. He is the people's choice, and together we shall make history. Well, what do you think from your work is going for Bawumia? Of course, his longevity, but what is not going for him? What is going for him in the internal party race?
What's not going for him?
Even in the national
I think the result of the last election. I think the defeat was humbling.
But at the time Mahama lost in 2016, that was unprecedented, huge margin at the time. Only that this has surpassed it. But at the time, it was a record. But he's come back quite strongly.
I mean, we're yet to see. But for now, he's carrying the baggage of the last election results, the baggage of Nanado's performance. And recently, I mean, the DDEP, people are still scared. So those things are fresh in people's minds.
Yes, but he has said many times with that number that he was not a guy. And these days we hear a few things about his disagreements with some of these policies, but he had to play ball. I mean, he had to support the government.
We saw what William Ruto did in Kenya.
But the Kenyan situation is very different.
I'm just... He disagreed with the boss and openly rebelled against the boss. So the people trusted that he wasn't in keeping
But you know,
quiet.
the Kenyan system,
So,
Kenya and
see,
Nigeria system are quite different from our system.
It's a price he paid for keeping quiet. You can't eat your cake and have it. He paid the price for being quiet.
In the political system that rewards loyalty.
If I was him, it doesn't matter. Now he's paying for the price of being too loyal.
So he should have resigned when he didn't
No,
support
not
the DDP.
resign, but his voice should have been made clear that on these matters, I disagree with my party.
But in fact, we heard him in the e-levy, before the e-levy. He said it was a no-no. Later it was done. Of course, knowing that he couldn't openly disagree with the party or the government when that decision was made, couldn't we have used his earlier position to indicate where he stood on that?
I remember in the UK, we have people called the spin doctors. They are political strategists who can spin well. If you have a very clever political strategist, he can find a way out for you. In a way, you look or come across as, you know, being dissenting, at the same time part of the team. So you must, there's a balance you need to have. People didn't see that. And it was difficult for him to be trusted that when he said that he wasn't in charge, he was a driver's mate. And that really didn't go down well.
I see. That's Musa Dankwa. But you know, Musa Dankwa started credibility, people, but now he appears to be having everybody around the table. Hamza, I mean,
bashing him.
You know, people were bashing him. People said he was this, he was that. You know, but one poll after the other, one election after the other, it does appear that Musa's posts are now becoming, you know, the main staple. Let's see, Hamza. I mean, interesting polling from Musa, especially on the NDC front. What is the base of your party saying beyond what you've seen, or is Musa's work reflective of what's on the ground, as far as you know?
Unfortunately, good morning to you, Salam, and good morning to my brother, Musa Dankwa, and of course our production team and our cherished viewers and listeners out there. Unfortunately, I'm not able to answer a definitive yes to that particular question because I have not done any form of survey as to the expectations.
What people tell you,
as to the expectations. I have not had that conversation, to be very honest with you. I've not had that kind of conversation.
They are focused on governance.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. For us in the National Democratic Congress, I think that the objective now is to stay true to the social contract that we signed with the good people of this country, based on which they gave us an overwhelming mandate on the 7th of December, 2024. And that should be the focus of any operative of the National Democratic Congress, and of course His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And for me personally, I am also concerned about the legacy of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, like his research has revealed. We are coming from the northern extraction of the country, and so his performance would go a long way to impact on our political future as young men and women coming from that particular geographical extraction. And that is the reason why many of us are committed to ensuring that at least he leaves behind a very successful legacy that we can all take pride in, hopefully to be able to push our political aspirations forward. But you see, Salam, the reality also is that one cannot resist the temptation to attempt commentary on the findings of my brother Musa Dankwa, especially the bit about ethnicity. I am waiting to see how that would play out, because I belong to the school of thought that, look, this country has come a long way. And if in the past we have had the situation where we've handed over from one southern president to another southern president, I don't see how it should be difficult for a northern president to hand over to another northern president, especially when it should be clear by now that even on the other side of the political divide, that is the New Patriotic Party, they are likely also to present another northerner. And for me, I think that it should not be part of our concern. I believe that, look, where we have gotten to, if the National Democratic Congress in its wisdom and its delegates deems it appropriate to elect the Honorable Haruna Idrisu as flag bearer, the NDC would have a better way of selling him. If we decide to elect the Honorable Johnson Asiri Nketia as flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, or even Chief of Staff Julius Debra, be rest assured that we'll find a way of doing it. But personally, I'm a bit concerned about this ethnic slant, especially when it comes to our analysis. The fact that one is coming from the northern sector cannot hand over to another northerner. It is important to state that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the Honorable Haruna Idrisu are not coming from the same region.
The Northern Bloc.
His Excellency is coming from Savannah. Haruna Idrisu is coming from Northern region, to be precise. And if you are dealing with it in terms of the Northern extraction, like I indicated earlier on, we have had situations where Southern presidents have handed over to Southern presidents. The record is there. So that would not be a novel situation. The fact that it is going to the North does not mean that the situation is going to be novel. Absolutely not. That track record in our political discourse is concerned. However, my concern with the figures is about the issue of ageism that you have captured succinctly as far as your analysis are concerned. But you see, Musa, it is important to appreciate that it is similar to the gender politics that we played in the past. I remember in the United States of America, many people were polled as to whether America is ready for a female president or not. And many of them said that America was ready. But in reality, and that has always been with issues of gender, in reality, when the presidential candidate was presented in the form of Hillary Clinton, that candidature was rejected. It appears that when it comes to polling on gender and ageism, what you are likely to pick, if you follow it religiously, may betray the eventual outcome. Nobody who is asked about the possibility of a woman president will say no. Are you ready to have a woman president? Nobody will.
No, some may say yes.
Some may say yes. But many people, for fear of being shown or categorized in a certain block, are likely to go with a certain narrative. Oh yeah, I think Ghana is ready for a female president. I think Ghana is ready for a female president. But in reality, when they are presented a ballot box, they may go other way. It is the same with the issue of ageism. And for me, the Greater Accra figures are quite interesting to watch. Because this is the, more or less, arguably so, the intellectual hub of the country, the Western form of the country. And so whatever you need, you can find it within Greater Accra. But clearly, it appears that Greater Accra seem not to be so enthused, if I'm right, about the issue of ageism, as compared to Ashanti, Ahafo region, and the likes.
Accra,
what are the figures?
61% for Greater Accra.
Yes, so if you compare to Ashanti...
But disagree is only 5%. So the net approval is 61 minus 5.
No, I'm making that analysis in relation to the other regions that had the bigger figures.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger figure, don't look at the agree, look at the net. So subtract the disagreement from agreed. The net effect. For Greater Accra, the net effect will be 61 minus 5. But if you look at Ashanti region, it's 69 minus 14. So the net effect will put Greater Accra in a much stronger desire for young leaders.
No, but that is maybe that's the kind of analysis. I won't argue with it, but I see it differently, and that's why I'm a bit concerned about those figures.
No, but if majority people he polled were young, it's
natural.
But you see, that's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making, that when it comes to issues of gender and ageism, I'm a young person. Naturally, I have gotten to a stage where I feel like we need younger leaders. Because it will benefit me as well. And it will benefit
you are
my
a voter,
generation.
so if you have the choice,
I'm a voter. So
if
if you present before me such a pool, I'm likely to tell you, of course, in line with my youthful exuberance and desire for young leaders, that look, we need a young leader. But the dynamics, especially when it comes to intra-party politics, are different. Many of these young people are driven by the system. And so when the system eventually takes charge and begins to give a certain direction, the issue of ageism and gender is missing in the discourse. And that's the point I'm making. That I respect the analysis. But in reality, we cannot religiously conclude that that is going to be the outcome. Because my association with internal political happenings tells me that irrespective of my preferences, for example, if tomorrow I can wake up, maybe my preferences would have been the Honorable Haruna Idrisu as a young person. Then I wake up, there are people I look up to in the party. They give direction. And I wake up, and from the presidency, they give a certain direction. And that is where my loyalty lies. That, at that point, the debate of ageism is lost. My responsibility would be to go and market. And you would agree with me that, Musa, many of these issues...
Musa is just saying what he hears on the ground.
No, I don't have a problem. I'm not contending
Yeah.
with his findings. Absolutely not. I'm giving another perspective to his findings. I think I agree largely with many of his outcomes. I do not dispute that. But I'm just bringing a certain perspective that, look, the polling may show a certain narrative that indeed the country is ready for a younger people. But we, because of our nature of politics in this country, if care is not taken, at the end of the day, even those who are we are going to have leading both political parties are not going to be young people. That is the point I'm making. And if they are not given that opportunity, for instance, if the NDC decides at the end of the Congress that, look, we want to go with Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. She's probably over 60, 70 years now, right? The entire machinery and our support base will, of course,
but
will charge a campaign.
That decision would have been the outcome. And the people making that decision would be, so these are the people who will make that decision.
Yes.
And this is their view for now. Until they have direction for the bigger guys.
Yes. So that's the point I'm making, that we have to be careful with the narratives we are giving. That's one. Secondly, my brother also, I think that I'm a brother of your job. You know that as a matter of principle. But I was a little bit uncomfortable with the decision to take out Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. The reasons that you gave are clearly not exciting to me. Because I'm not one of those who feel that you shouldn't be doing your research now. I think that in all fairness, I believe that there's no better time to keep track of what would happen in the future than now. It behoves on the government to be able to conduct itself in a manner that it does not constitute a distraction to government work. And so that is not your job, that is our job. And I can assure you that with the president that we have and the team we have assisted, we will try as much as possible to still continue to concentrate on the core promises we made to the good people of this country. Also respecting these outcomes and hopefully taking decisions based on these outcomes. But in all honesty, like I indicated, the reasons behind the decision to take out Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman is not really that convincing to me. And I think that you need to elaborate a little more on it. Because we are having an opportunity with a female candidate. I would want to hear, I would want to know what the people think of a female president going into the future. I'm interested in that as a student of political science. I am exceedingly interested in that. I need to know that as to whether indeed this country is ready for a female president or not. So it is an important part of your research that I feel that you shouldn't have taken for granted. Whether she was sick or not, that is one point that we need to understand. Because just as ageism, the issue of youthful leadership, the issue of gender participation, especially female, is an important plan.
He makes a good point there. You don't agree?
No, I agree.
Yeah, so there's a slide you have on the screen on the regional breakdown on how Musa's work reflected what the views of people were in terms of having young leaders. And you could see Upper West and Oti region leading in that pack, wanting young leaders, etc. Yes. But he made a because he made the vice presidential position is quite a significant, and in many instances, they are the natural successors, like Bawumia, like Professor Mills, etc., like John Mahama.
Look.
So to take her out, that is quite significant.
It was my call. And the list we have there is not exhaustive. And
but it's saying that, or we are saying that's so much of a huge call to make.
Look,
that call is very huge because she's the number two.
It is not,
and in many instances, the number two persons
it is
will most
not
likely
the final
want
poll.
to rise to number one.
It is not a final poll. These polls will be done every 90 days. So the call is out there. We'll bring her back in and see how the numbers changes.
But the other point is that the fact that she's not in, if she wants to run, this disadvantages her. Given how your polls, given how your polls,
that's why I was concerned.
Look. In fact, taking her out could even add to her advantage. But then now the cry is out. If we bring her in, people will be aware of all the issues and make right decisions.
Because people may think that she has indicated that she's not running. That's
but we put out there. If anyone thinks this list...
But I'm saying that a person like Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman should not be one of those. It should be natural.
I called, look.
Yeah, but no, is that call we are questioning?
No, look, it's my judgment call.
Or we can't question that.
No, but you see, Musa, that is where I have my problem.
No, let me land. It's a call that I made that I take full responsibility of.
Okay.
And from what I have seen, I'll bring her back in.
So the next round, you're assuring us that you bring
she'll be back
Prof in there.
Yes.
The other point is that you said political investors want to know a few things.
Yes.
That's why in the case of the NDC, for example,
yes.
even though people
say even the MPP still want to know.
Even though people say it's early, you still decided to put it out there. The question is, if political investors want to know, why don't you share it with those political investors rather than sharing it with everybody?
But, Selim, you as a voter, as a Ghanaian, wouldn't you want to know what others are thinking? Wouldn't you want to know?
Of course, I want to know. So that's the reason.
And we work in the public interest.
Determine who to support.
We work in the public interest, not political party interest. So as what they think for us.
Let me bring in Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. Haruna, good morning. Good to have you on the program. How have you been?
Oh, it's fine. Hello. Good morning.
Great. I'm sure you followed Musa's work in terms of the MPP. From where you sit, is his work reflective of what you see on the ground?
How can you see yes?
I know that's a question you may not want to answer, but you know, what do you make of his work?
Thank you very much. I would say good morning to Musa and then Lawyer Hamza, yourself, Salom. It's been a long time.
Very long time.
That I've been around, been in the studio for some time.
Yes.
Today is a very great day. I've sat down to listen to Musa with respect to his polling. I've been one person who have always said that polling is one thing that is very important. And in general, research work. We in the MPP can always disagree with any research finding that comes from any other quarters or any other professional. But we are of the view that every research work, even if you disagree, you must take it and look at it in other ways round, whether to be able to test the variables that have been used, whether you'll be able to get the same answers or the same results or a near results, because we're saying that every research work should be able to stand the test of time. And that is why there is a constant review of research. And in his view, he's saying that he's doing this quarterly, but because ours is very close, he's doing it monthly. It will be very difficult for you to be arguing so much with Musa. The reason being that he himself personally on the show have indicated that perception may not be reality. And every poll is a perception. So the perception that you put out there or the poll you put out there necessarily doesn't give you the actual results as in the poll. You may get it, you may not get it. So it's also a perception. So because of that, I don't normally argue with researchers or those who do polling. I only state my disagreement and also point to the variables that have been used, because the variables that if I use it, it can also tend to be a different thing altogether. But looking at the angles in which he has posited all his variables in terms of polling on the MPP and on the NDC. For us in the MPP, I'm a leader within the MPP. It will be very difficult for me to speak so much to it because I need to be very independent. I need to be very free and make sure that we give the grounds to everybody. But in terms of the polling, you see that all of them have dropped certain numbers. All the 5 candidates have dropped in certain numbers with respect to their previous polling that hit there. It means that there is a great work for people, the followers of these particular individuals, to look at it and ask certain questions, certain critical questions as to why there is a drop and where the drop to has accumulated. How do you get it or how do you fit in? And that is why we have what we call the SWOT analysis. You have the strengths and weaknesses, and then you look at the strengths and weaknesses, which you take as an internal factors for you, and then the other ones as the external factors. How do you turn your external factors to be advantageous to you? So it is left with them to be able to use Musa's work if they desire to work with it or to use it as one of the input into their work going forward into the primaries, to be able to work to their advantage. And that is what they have to do. with respect to the NDC, I've heard my brother Hamza says that for him, he doesn't think that when they say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Haruna, they are coming from one region. I think he wants us to be very smart in that particular circumstances. But when they say the Northern Bloc, it's the Northern Bloc. Even you can extend the Northern Bloc to the Bono East region and even the northern part of Volta. So the Northern Bloc is big, and that includes where Honorable Haruna and His Excellency the President is coming from. But they remain opinion, and these opinions also remains as perceptions, as Musa has said. So they may not be the reality, but if it comes to bear, what will be the mood of the people or the decision of the people? Again, in his narratives, I've seen that he tried to question the role of the young people with respect to the outcome of works of young people within the society, or what he perceived to be. And I tend to disagree that young people are very affable, young people are very intelligent, young people are prepared for leadership, more especially that the environment in which we live in the global setting, young people are contributing enough. If that is the view of the people, then when it comes to the reality, the people will decide. So for me, there is no need to downplay the role of young people in our Ghanaian politics or in leadership role.
But the point he made also is that the young people look up to certain big guns or big persons in the party. So for example, we are young people, we think a young person should come. But my godfather, who may be a big person I look up to, tells me, no, Salom, this is the guy we are supporting. He may not be young, he's over 60, but this is the guy I want us to support. Because the person is your godfather and the person, you look up to the person, you are more likely or most likely to go along with the choice of your godfather. That's the point he's making, and I think maybe you can respond to that.
There are young people who are godfathers. Godfather does not move with
age. Yeah, okay, so I think we lost him. We'll get him back to respond to all of that. This is the big issue on 97.3 City FM. Musa Dankwa is my guest with Hamza Suini, member of the NDC Communications team. You just heard Haruna Mohammed, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. We are looking in the first part of the program at the Global InfoAnalytics of work in October, which posed NDC and MPP flag bearership contest. I mean, what people think about all of that. It does appear that the perception within the MPP or the view within the MPP is that Dr. Bawumia is the guy to run. In fact, he leads in all the areas, all the blocks. Dr. Bawumia wins there. In the NDC, Haruna Idrisu, Education Minister, appears to be leading the pack, and being followed closely by Asiru Nketi, Atoforsin, and co. So that's what we've been looking at. The lines are, the show is live and interactive, 020-444-7033 and 0549986996. So what should we expect in the next round? Jenano Pokwajiman, for one, comes back.
Yes.
You trim the number down.
We'll trim the number down, but she will be in there. We're going to keep those who have gotten at least 5%, but her, because exceptional case, she's going to come on her merit, and the rest will call them someone else. If you feel stronger about the candidate that is not there, give us the name or write the name down.
I see. I mean, that should bring some reprieve.
Oh yes. I think that is a.
And in fact, before what we will do, we also run a scenario. If she's not in the race, what your choices be to see how the vote split.
Brilliant. I think that we have contributed meaningfully
to research.
To research. And that is the essence of this discussion. And that was the reason why I raised it.
Why you say
it is not because
why you say it, is it likely that Prof may want to have a stab at the presidency?
I sincerely don't know. And you see, this is not a political comment. I have not engaged any of those polled for likely succession as far as President Mahama is concerned. And as a matter of principle, I have not made a determination of choice as to who I personally would support. And that's why I started my submission by saying that, look, I am committed to His Excellency President Mahama's legacy. And for me, that is the focus of my energies now as a young person within the politics of the National Democratic Congress. But you see, Selom, I listened to Haruna. I think that Haruna did not understand the context of my concern, especially when it comes to the issue of ageism. I made the point that, look, the young people can tell you A, but in terms of practice, they may be moved to take a certain decision, and it's there. We've seen it. And that's why I had to give the example of the gender bit in politics. And the reason why many had indicated that they wanted, they are okay with the female president, but when that choice was given them, they went the other way. Because there are so many factors that Musa Dankwa's polling may not aptly capture, because he has a certain arena that he's concentrating on, and it is not his fault. But the other aspects of the game, the other aspects of our internal politics, is something he may not be able to aptly capture. And that is what we should have to pay attention to as well. And when I made references to the issue of ethnicity and the fact that President Mahama and Honorable Haruna Idrisu are coming from different regions in the northern extraction, it does not in any way suggest that I am trying to be smart with my responses. What he doesn't appreciate is that even his own boss, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, by his definition of northern extraction, also comes from that northern extraction. So if indeed the south-south or north-north concern is anything to go by, I am pretty much sure that if Ghanaians are uncomfortable handing over from one northerner to the other, then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia obviously will not be an option for the good people of this country come 2028, because he's also from that northern extraction. And the MPP must be careful the way they jump into many of these discussions without actually appreciating the effects it will have on the likely candidate that they themselves will be presenting in 2028.
Very well. Let's so, I mean, Musa, your final word on this.
You know, we are listening to people's suggestions in terms of how we present the names. Every good advice which help in research, I will take it on board in good faith. What I can say is that our work will continue, because global InfoAnalytics is not an appendage of an NDC. And we'll continue to do so with kind of judgment. There are things that we are doing that we don't put it out there for a good reason. But in terms of public perception, I mean, you can't stop public from expressing their views and us letting the views be known in terms of as public opinion. We'll be circumspect, but we will not stop the polling that we are doing. It will help to sanitize the race into the future, and also help advance our democracy, because polling helps. It makes people accountable. And look, for those who may want to lead, it is not your running around that will make you lead. It is how people perceive your contribution to what is happening now that will give you the bargaining chip to come back to the people and say, this is my role. I played in the party, and I deserve to be given the nod to lead the party. So they shouldn't focus on the poll. They should focus on their work.
I see. Well, so Musa, thanks so much. So Musa Dankwa, Executive Director of the Global InfoAnalytics, a poster, did some work. Larry Dogbe had some views on this about how Musa's work, in his view, is not appropriate at this time, because it's distracting, in his view, the work of governance. I mean, that's his editorial view. Larry Dogbe is editor of the Herald newspaper, but we're still working to get him on. As and when we do, we'll take that view. But we want to move on to the next part of the program, which tackles the DSTV price row, whether indeed a reduction as promised is being achieved by the Honorable Sam George. We'll take a short break. When we return, your text messages and DSTV discussion is on. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back. This is the big issue. Just gone by is a discussion on Musa Dankwa's polls, the NDC MPP polling that put some candidates ahead of the others, Bawumia leading the MPP pack, and Haruna Idrisu, Education Minister, leading the NDC pack. Now we'll move on to other matters. The DSTV versus Sam George, they've had some issues, and the resolution of that issue is that there'll be no price change, as it were, but there'll be value addition. And in that value addition, you are upgraded to the next level if you continue to pay what you've been paying always in the bouquet you are on. What that also means is that if you decide to downgrade yourself, you'll be upgraded automatically to the level you are on, and that means you'll be paying less. But quite a few people are not happy about the outcome because they felt that we should have achieved, price reduction. You pay 300 or you pay 380 for compact and maybe reduces to 300. That is the reduction many were looking out for. But that didn't happen that way. It happened in another form. And minority is saying that Sam George should resign, or the president should make him resign or sack him because he lacks the emotional intelligence to deal with matters like this. But the majority in parliament is pushing back on that. They're pushing back against calls from the minority for the dismissal of Communications Minister Sam George. At a press conference yesterday, the minority, a day before, the minority demanded the minister's resignation or dismissal, citing what they described as his poor handling of the DSTV pricing saga. But in a response yesterday, Suleiman Adama, a member of the Information and Communications Committee, urged the public to disregard the calls, highlighting the communication minister's leadership over the past 8 months in office.
There is nothing irregular about the minister's engagement with MultiChoice, and there is absolutely no justification for the call on the minister to resign. The minister has acted within his mandate and continues to provide the needed leadership to stabilize and guide the sector. The chairman of the committee has instructed the secretariat of the committee to invite MultiChoice and the ministry together to dialogue on the way forward. The call on Honorable Sam George to resign is unfounded. For the records, the whole president put his presidency online to fight Galamsey. He failed, but he did not resign. A minister of state said he was not thinking right in procuring vaccines. He did not resign. The former minister for communication signed opaque deals. Kenny GVG, Smart Infraco, Ascent Ghana, and the rest. He never resigned. Nobody called on him to resign. How do you call on a minister who has achieved such in just a little over 8 months to resign?
Well, that's the Honorable Suleiman Adama, member of the Information and Communications Committee of Parliament, coming to the defense of his colleague, Sam George, in this matter. My guest for this segment of the show, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, Hamza Suini, member of the NDC Communications team, Larry Dogbe, editor, Herald Newspaper, Chunibo Akodia, Foucault, MP, Manson Kwanta. I'm sure Haruna Mohammed is still on. Yes, so Hamza, I mean, the promise was to make MultiChoice reduce the bouquet subscription fees. The bouquet subscription fees haven't changed. They are what they are. And so people think that the minister, given his hardline position, has failed Ghanaians. What do you say?
First of all, we need to be concerned about the context. I think that from day one, the Honorable Minister responsible for communications.
Of course, let me also add that Admako Kisi, Regional Director for CATS International, is part of my guest and is also on the discussion.
The Minister responsible for communication, the Honorable Sam George, had indicated his desire to get MultiChoice to review their prices. I think that he was forceful in making that demand. But we understand that in any democratic dispensation, there are laws governing the processes, and he understood that quite clearly. But it did not prevent him from pushing very hard and advocating strongly for the good people of this country in terms of reviewed prices. It did not mean that going into that battle, he was going to absolutely win. We knew from the onset, especially those of us who are familiar with many of these processes, that in order for you to have a very strong position to negotiate, your demands must be exact and uncompromising. And that was the position he went into those negotiations with. And you cannot fault a minister of state for harboring these convictions and attempting to use the powers within his control to be able to secure many of these things, not for himself, but for the collective interest of the Republic of Ghana. So that point needs to be made. As to whether indeed he succeeded or not is one of divided judgment. Because I have listened to many people who argue that in the past, they would have been made to pay about 860 Ghana cedis or so for premium. Today, for the same package, they are paying about 550 or so. So there's a reduction of about 300 Ghana cedis in that light. But I think the confusion has to do with whether indeed you can brand that as a reduction. And Selon, from where I sit, since yesterday, I've seen people on social media who have argued that, look, I used to be connected to 2 decoders and I was paying in excess of 1,002. As a result of that negotiation, today I pay a little over 700 or 720 Ghana cedis for the same service that in about a week or two ago I was paying in excess of 1,200 Ghana cedis for. So you cannot possibly tell such a person that he's not enjoying a reduction. And that was a point the Honorable Sam George was making. My point to those who feel that what happened cannot amount to any form of reduction is for them to simply make that point, at least respectfully, to government, through the Minister responsible of communication, and say, look, we would want you to engage further. And my understanding is that the door to engagements are not closed. The minister is still in touch with DSTV, and like you've heard the ranking member on the communications committee say, they themselves have proceeded to even invite the Minister of Communications and that of DSTV to another meeting. So the opportunity for more engagement is still open for all of us to take advantage of. But when I listened to the press conference of the minority yesterday, I came to one conclusion. We are dealing with a minority that has decided to major in pettiness rather than concentrate on the many issues that really concern this country. Because you see, Selom, what at all are they fighting over? Why the cause for resignation?
The conduct and the communication, how it was done, this is a business entity and how it was, people think it could have been managed better. And here we are, this was what they promised before. We said we will not take it and we've gone back for it.
No, they did not promise that. We did not hear them promise that. What Sam George, Minister responsible for communications, has presented is been deemed as a reduction in the quotas of some people. Others feel it as a review of the packaging structure of multi-TV. But in any way, there's a reduction in terms of the prices. Because what you were paying more for today, you will pay less for that similar service, for that same service. So that is in itself a reduction. And that's the point I'm making, that, look, as for his posture, what posture did you expect him to have? He was simply advocating on behalf of the good people of this country, sending a strong signal that this country would not stay idle for MNCs, and if I say MNCs, multinational national corporations, to take us for granted, especially when it comes to the interests of the Ghanaian people. And what is wrong with such a posture? What is wrong? Being forceful. We've known Sam George and the way he goes about his demands and politics. And so this was no different. The most important thing is that he reached a position with multi-choice. And that has led to some measure of reductions. And I don't see why we should be calling on him to resign, especially so when multi-choice has not told us that they have a problem with the posture of the said minister responsible for communications. And that is why I'm finding it a little bit strange that the MPP, of all the issues, when the issue started, did you hear the position of the NPP on this matter? Did they hold a press conference to support the initiatives of the Honorable Sam George in that regard, calling for the reductions? If they had done so, it would have sent strong signals of how united we are as a country in that demand. So why did they have to wait for us to get to this stage, and for them, they think that it is convenient now, as usual with their nature of politics, to begin now to call on a state official whose only crime was simply championing the interests of the Ghanaian people to resign.
Very well. Let me engage Haruna. Haruna, the minority's call for Sam George to resign is being contested. There was no grounds or enough grounds for it. Indeed, he was doing his work as a minister, fighting for the people. And he's achieved something. General, others say, maybe your side says not so much. Why should he resign over this matter?
Salam, thank you very much. I think the network has been very unfair to me today.
Yes, I'm sorry. We're trying to work it. We'll work it out. Yeah. It's been an issue. Yeah.
I want to be very categorical on this matter and very blunt. Sam George has achieved nothing. He hasn't achieved anything on the issue of the DSTV matter. My brother is talking about when the matter was up, the minority did not. That is untrue. Honorable Martin Nindam, in the heat of the matter, issued a statement on behalf of the minority with regards to the brouhaha on the DSTV and Sam George. And you see, Sam George, excuse my language, has been very arrogant from opposition to this time. And what Sam George is doing, his behavior, demeanor, with regards to how he handles this thing, he must be apologizing to the media and the people of Ghana for peddling such untruths. You see, this is not the first time that DSTV has put this particular package together. DSTV has done this time and over. There is no any reduction. Salom, I put it to you. Go to the multi-choice, their website. There is no any reduction. I've opened my DSTV because I don't have cameras. However, the DSTV package has not changed.
Really?
Family is 190. Family is 190.
How about the package?
Compact Plus is, yes, I'm saying that family is 190. Access is 99. Family is 190. Compact Plus is 570. Compact is 380. Premium is 865. That is the package. That is what is there on their official page.
Yes.
What is happening now? What is happening now is a promotion. Even without the engagement of Sam George, would have happened anyway. It has happened before. I did not start using DSTV today. And those packages have always come. Me, for example, I don't fancy sitting down to watch a particular channel even in another package. So it is for people to accept whether I want to upgrade myself or I don't want to upgrade. So, for example, if I buy access and you give me family, I might not even go to work to watch anything in family. I cannot go and buy access. I cannot go and buy family. I can only buy access and I'll be given a package. And the price of family or access has not changed. So nobody should come and deceive the people of Ghana that the some package has changed. No, the price has remained the same.
Let's look at it this way. So
Yes.
if you are on compact, you pay your 380 or so, you are upgraded to compact plus, which I understand, which should be around 570. So if you still want to maintain your compact, you downgrade yourself to maybe family. So you pay 190 or so. When you downgrade to family and you pay the 190, you are brought or upgraded to your original compact. You have the same bouquet, which means that you are paying less for the same package you've been enjoying for the past before this brouhaha or discussion started. Shouldn't that count for something?
Is it, Salam? When you read the release by the DSTV, how customers in Ghana qualify for this package, to qualify for the promotion, you must be, 1, an active, disconnected, or a new DSTV customer living in Ghana. 2, make or have made payment in full for your current package. It doesn't say you should downgrade yourself. Make or have made payment in full for your current.
Is that the FAQs
package.
Is that the FAQs you are reading?
Yes, the one that they have issued.
Yes, but
It does
they
not
issued
say that you should downgrade
another
yourself.
statement. They issued another statement titled "Clarification on DSTV Value Offerings," and it reads, "Following the recent
DSTV
joint press conference with the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, the National Communications Authority, MultiChoice Africa, and MultiChoice Ghana, we wish to clarify the FAQs published on our website, which created an erroneous impression of a contradiction regarding the DSTV value offering, which is effective today, October 1, October 1, we would like to clarify as follows. We fully support the joint media statement that was issued by the Honorable Minister, Honorable Sam Nate George, and implementation of same has already commenced. So what did Sam George say at the press conference? He said that there's value addition, and he explained all of that. And they are saying in this statement, which is subsequent to the FAQs they describe as erroneous, that they fully support that statement. So that this should bring everything to rest, shouldn't it?
It cannot bring it to rest. It is not true. I am telling you that the value has not changed.
So DSTV is not telling us the truth, is that what you're saying?
Yes, the government is forcing DSTV to dent the image of DSTV, and they are allowing themselves to be used by an arrogant minister. Because that is what he is. Hamza is sitting down there, and he makes his point. He's not behaving as the same way he is. Sam George thinks that he's a paragon of knowledge, and he thinks that he can say anything that he go.
But are you not personalizing this, Haruna?
I'm not personalizing it. That is what he has personalized the entire transaction. He ought not to have been taking this particular matter by himself as a minister. The Minister of the NCA should have been the agency under him handling this matter, but he has personalized the thing. It is now Sam George and DSTV, not even the presidency attached to it. He's personalizing it as if he's the one. This is a state matter.
But he's a sector minister, and so he needs to drive.
Yeah, but there are agencies that handle such matters. But the point is that, Salom, whatever they say, the DSTV says that this particular happening is going to be in perpetuity. No, it is a promotion.
No, they didn't say that. What they have said is that after 3 months, the stakeholders will meet and review it.
But 3 months, after 3 months, it means that there's a period.
Yeah, but
it is not that you are going to enjoy. No, so that's why we say we project managers, we say that project has a definitive start and has a definitive end.
Yes, that's fine. That's
so
true.
You know,
but the other point too is that DSTV quarterly reviews its prices. You know, quarterly, it may increase or not, but quarterly there's a review. And so quarterly, what we have seen in the last months prior to this was that quarterly there was some markup, there was some increase in the fee. So if they say in 1 quarter, stakeholders will meet and review it, it's not consistent with what they've been doing in the past. Just that this one, the stakeholders will include our representatives like the minister and NCA, etc. Is that not the case?
Yeah, so you are confirming what I said. If they are to meet quarterly and review,
but that's what they've done every time.
It means that.
But it's not a promotion. That doesn't mean a promotion.
So it means that Sam George did nothing. Even without Sam George, they would have still meet quarterly anyway. Is that not it?
No, but when the point is that when the dollar, when the cedi started strengthening against the dollar, it took a while. In fact, they had done some review. The price didn't change. They had done some review. They didn't say this. The value proposition in terms of the package was not as we are seeing now too. So surely the Sam George effort, I mean, you can argue, has yielded some results. No?
I still maintain my point. Sam George has not had any effort. Go to the DSTV side if it was not a promotion. And I'll refer you back to Oxford Dictionary. Promotion. The publicizing of a product, organization, or a venture so as to increase sales or public awareness. What they are doing, I tell you, it is a promotion. It's a promotion for them to get people to come and patronize the packages of DSTV, which they have been doing consistently. Just as you have said, quarterly they meet and review. And all the reviews that they have done in the past, in all particular instances, they have always increased it, except when they bring such promotions as they have just brought this time. So that is why in their website, in their state, if you open, even if you have the My DSTV app, the package is still the same price. If it is deemed to have changed the price, DSTV would have changed the price of the package. So the price of the package on My DSTV portal is still that amount that I've mentioned to you. Nothing has changed. It remains a promotion. In 3 months' time, they decide whether to continue with the promotion or to stop the promotion. That is what happens in marketing cycles.
I see. Let me speak to Adumaku Kisi. He's a lawyer, he's a competition person, and he's executive director for the for CAS International, West Africa, region. Council, good morning. Welcome to the program. Let me take your view on the happenings. I mean, do you consider this as a promotion, or you consider this as some value the multi-choice is delivering to the people beyond promotion?
Okay. Good morning and good morning to your viewers. From the onset, Ghanaians were expecting multi-choice to reduce their prices and give Ghanaians some reprieve after the appreciation of the cedi. However, when people went to the negotiating room, that outcome was not necessarily received, but it came in a different way. But one thing about negotiation is that when you are going to negotiation, you must also open your minds to various options. You don't go to negotiation with a fixed point that, look, I'm going to get 30%. If I don't get 30%, I walk out, and then that will be the end. I think people reason together, and also the government was also mindful that multi-choice is also a business that needs to also must survive to be able to also create jobs in Ghana and return profit to its shareholders and also pay taxes to the government. And so in the whole thing, that arrangement came. And I still see it as a better approach, in a sense that you are able to get a downgrade, maintain the same content that you are getting, and still get some money into your pocket. So in one way or the other, I think that the minister has done well with regards to this. And I think what is more important is how do we ensure that this reduction is we're able to sustain it going forward.
But sustaining the reduction is dependent on the economic environment, and that's what it's been every time. That's why quarterly before, DSTV was reviewing and their prices and usually increasing it. So if in 3 months the economic situation is no longer stable, things change to the south, I mean, it's likely that we will see this scrapped, that we get to normal. If it gets worse, then we now begin to see an increase in the prices. But just deal with this for me. Given the back and forth we have seen, or given the back and forth we've seen between the minister and the DSTV, you think that if economic situations change, DSTV will have the moral courage and authority to immediately increase subscription fees, given how difficult it has been for them to even come to this level?
Yes, I think that multi-choice, when the cedi, I mean, in a worst case scenario that the cedi begins to depreciate, normally one would expect businesses to adjust their prices automatically. However, we've also seen a period where the cedi appreciated and the service provider decided to keep prices as it were before. And so that is where government should be able to, in a back room and conversation, tell multi-choice to also slow down a bit than becoming so price sensitive to the exchange rate. And so that in that regard, people will see that multi-choice is also sacrificing some, I mean, it's also sacrificing some profit just to also understand that Ghanaians also needs to enjoy some. Of course, in the market, we see prices of fuel being adjusted every 2 weeks, and Ghanaians are used to that. But I think that one shouldn't expect multi-choice to immediately begin to up their price as soon as the cedi. I mean, if they're able to slow down a bit, I mean, Ghanaians will be able to, multi-choice will be able to win the heart of the Ghanaians and also understand. Oh, but of course, we must make the business model of multi-choice profitable, that the company should not continue to bleed in losses forever. At one point or one way or the other, the multi-choice should be able to upgrade their prices so that the company will be, the business model will be sustainable for them. But they shouldn't be immediate if they start to go immediate, then I think that Ghanaians will also start monitoring the figures, and as soon as the city also appreciate again, would also compare them to kind of reduce their prices.
But what do you also make as an industry person? I mean, who deals with competition and deals with all of this? What do you make of DSTV's posture, you know, to the extent of even releasing FAQs which contradicted what the minister said? Now, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, have to issue another statement saying they fully agree with the joint statement issued and all of that. What's going on there?
I think it was a bit unfortunate because last Monday, the day that the minister was doing the press release conference, the multi-choice was also in the room. And I'm sure that they both came from the same room, and based upon the same understanding, the minister came to address the media. And then the following day, multi-choice issues an FAQ that tends to deviate from the understanding that was arrived during the conversation. I think it was not the best thing for multi-choice to have done. Of course, thankfully, they came back to agree with whatever the minister has said. And that is also that as a human, we must be humble enough to admit our mistakes and then also move on and get the right thing done. So they have corrected that FAQ.
I see. Franklin Kujo, president of Imani Africa, is on the conversation. Franklin, good to have you. Many have said that it's not just the exchange rate that determines prices, and that's true. Taxes, etc., are also key. Taxes on the sector have not changed. The exchange rate dynamics is what is changed here and there. And so multi-choice should not be forced into reducing prices necessarily. What do you make of that thought?
Well, let me start off by saying that this conversation is an interesting one. If we were running a derivatives economy, a command control economy, where the state is the only one that decides who should operate, then all these conversations about DSTV would have been quite interesting, really. But we don't. As we speak, DSTV has competitors, don't they? That's it. DSTV has competitors, don't they? People subscribe to some of them. Others subscribe to DSTV. So to start off, the conversation is even wrong-headed in the first place, because people can decide to walk whether they want to get to DSTV or not. In fact, it annoys me to the highest level that we're having a conversation about a private enterprise whose competitors have not been stopped. I think we need to get that particular conversation quite clear. They've not been stopped, and so to start the conversation by suggesting that they are killing us, they are suffocating us, it's actually wrong-headed. The fact of the matter is that if people feel suffocated and wrong and killed, they should just walk and leave that product and buy other products, right? Don't we have Netflix? Don't we have Vimeo? Don't we have Showmax?
But we don't have premiership. We don't have premiership on the other ones.
No, well, I'm coming there. I'm just giving you an example. I choose to be on Netflix because I think I get better service on Netflix than maybe Vimeo or whatever they call it, right? That's the way the world has become. I mean, I'm here subscribing to things outside of this country that I'm paying for, and I'm not complaining. I complain only when I see that the exchange rate is affecting me. Maybe I reduce the particular package I'm on. That's what we do. That's what we call rational economics. That's what we call rational thinking. In the market, when nobody is forcing you, putting the gun to your head, that's how you decide. You don't decide by telling the regulator. The regulator comes and says, hey, do this, do that, do that. In fact, the whole thing is fanciful. It is like cantata to me. And quite frankly, that's not the time. That's not a good use of a minister's time. A minister is to dictate policy. In fact, you have a whole minister superintendent on this particular one. Well, it sounded quite, as I said, like a comedy of errors. That's why he was committing so many errors along the line. A desk officer should be handling this matter, to be frank with you. And the minister should be in charge of the much larger policy of deciding that, okay, if we feel strongly that a particular company is not giving us value, what do? You open up and allow others to come in. Not that others are not already in the market, or there are. So they started. This was a fight. This was a fight over nothing really. It was a needless fight. Allow people to work if they want to work. I mean, when the prices went up, I didn't. How many times do I even watch TV these days? I have DSTV, but I can't watch more than 2-3 channels. I watch just about 2 or 3 channels on DSTV, and that's it. So I was just waiting because I knew that the minister was going to go round and come back to the same cycle, to the same point he started, right? So I was just having a good laugh when it eventually happened. My good brother, and I want to advise him. Look, you're a very intelligent man. Your IQ is quite higher than most people, but please apply it prudently. Let it drive policy. Let it drive good policy for the country, for the industry. I am shamed and I'm mortified that a minister of his stature could reduce himself to a poster child of DSTV. I mean, that's exactly what played out, and I was very angry. Because one minister who I respect so much should not be going around bullying actors in the market, and at the same time, at the end of the day, ending up getting nothing. Well, the conversation about whether there's been some value or not, maybe we can have that conversation. But when he started, he himself said it, that we don't want any package value appreciation. We want price reduction. That's why it's difficult for people to understand what he's actually achieved. I'm always saying that on the area of policy, I would never, if I were minister, get down that low to be fighting a player in the market. And look at how they dribbled him all the way. Now he was the one talking for the company. He became a poster child of the company. No way. It shouldn't happen it should never happen in the John Mahama administration. You understand? Because this resetting and this John Mahama point 2, that's how I was disappointed. Not because he wasn't trying to help consumers in the market. Yeah, I understand that. But guess what policy? What's the policy? There's a policy of his ministry to just be talking about a player who has his own market dynamics and decides to price the way he wants to price. The best you can do is to have a conversation, but not to come and tell him or her how to operate. That's what I'm saying, that leave it to our customers, leave it to us. We will decide whether we want to be on that package or not.
But frankly, what happens if the particular player controls a huge chunk of the market, and because of the market size that player controls, is using that to quote unquote fleece the people, because the alternatives are not.
What is the meaning of what's the meaning of fleece?
The alternative may not be as good and may not have the offerings. Shouldn't the regulator or shouldn't somebody step in and say, no, we think you could do better in terms of your pricing because A, B, and C are favorable now, and so that will reflect in your pricing. Shouldn't somebody say that?
Let's even agree that you have a point in that regard. Is that the way to go about it? Threats here and there, or issue ultimatums. That's not the way to organize, organize issues around some of these matters. I mean, now we have egg on our face. Eventually, what you said, you disagreed with you. Eventually, that's what you ended up with. I mean, I'm just saying that a minister should be much larger than this. And I hope that this is the last time he's ever seen brawling with. He's not acting on my behalf when he brawls with enterprises in the ecosystem. He's not. He should focus on policy, drive policy, make sure we have safe, lower internet rates across the country for many students to get that. And then, by the way, you should also focus on policy that will drive content. Maybe you should be interested in how people can create content. And when you start paying for content, you see the value of competitors like DSTV. Why? Premiership. Did you know that the premiership is being contested? That they nearly took it away from this regime. And talk about you guys in CTF. I may not know the dynamics, but you've stopped Talk Sports. Talk Sports is being priced heavily. I pray that you continue. I used to listen to it as well. Why did you stop? Maybe you have a deal. Maybe they have also gotten a better deal somewhere and they are pricing it out because people have become accustomed to it. That is the way the market works. Anybody who tells you otherwise is fanciful. Active players, as I say, if you're in a market where there are other players, if somebody is suffocating you, walk. You can't tell me that because the person is providing why is it in an inelastic product? Can't you live without EPL? What do you mean by because it's the only company that has EPL that they are killing you? That's actually why that's their price. That's their price. How do you call it? That's their how do you call it? Their
USP.
pride, more or less. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So if you like, go and get if you want to compete, then go and get some. Go and arrange and get the premiership and show. I don't even understand this whole thing. This was needless to start off with in the first place. The best you can do is to even DSTV customers could have come around, maybe come around a consumer unit like my good friend Kat and have a structured conversation rather than issuing threats and running around as if that's the only thing in town. Why? And then look at what we got. We got nothing, zero. We came back to the same position. I'm saying zero because.
I think Apia Kusi disagrees somewhat.
Oh no, I understand. Apia Kusi has. I mean, I know him. I mean, he knows that. He knows he shares a certain position I don't share. But we all believe in the market. Just like he has a streak of the market. What you call. Well, he's a mixed economy type of person, so I can understand. But I'm just trying to say that I don't want to see my minister getting the brawl. Apia would have never done that. Apia would have just gone and said, "Look, we want a consumer." What's his famous thing, right?
Competition law.
Yes,
competition law.
And I don't think you go around issuing threats and telling people if you don't do this, I'll search you. What is that? It's not like a playground bully running around making it look as though. By the way, I don't support that he should be sacked because I think that he's not committed any serious wrongs at all compared to the previous occupant of that position. Engage in pathetic, wicked scam contracts here and there. They should even shut up. They should not be talking and asking the minister to resign. The minister was just being bravado and all of that. And I tell him that he's far smarter than the previous minister. He should not be compared to the previous minister. At this rate, people are seeing the previous minister in a different light. Because she didn't go around with people around. I mean, challenge Santon. I don't know if you're I like you. I respect you so much. I respect your intellect. If someone na bono company I mean, it's above you.
Very well. Apia Kusi has a quick one to make. Apia, quickly before I come back to the studio.
No, Mohammed, you are not supposed to contribute to this conversation.
No, he's a major stakeholder. Apia, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, so yes, so just make your quick intervention.
My name is mentioned.
Yes, no, I know. You have your bite.
So I think that, as Franklin said, it's a free market. In a free market, we want prices to be determined by demand and supply. However, the pay TV market we have here, though we have other players in the market, but we don't see any competition in the market. And there's a lot of bottlenecks in the market because MultiChoice has a premium content like sports, and that gives them, it put them more like in a comfortable lead above all the other players. And so any serious person want to watch pay TV would rather want to go to MultiChoice. And that is kind of has increased their dominance. And so you may have other players in the market, but you may not see competition. And in that regard, you see that the market is not free. The market is not competitive. And so some level of regulation is kind of required. You will recall somewhere in April this year, MultiChoice gave Ghanaian consumers just less than a week notice about price increase. That defeats the fair notice principle in contract law and every law that mankind has ever written. MultiChoice could do that and succeed because it was the lead player in the market. And even if you were to use Section 13 of the Electronic Transaction Act, MultiChoice is supposed to have been declared as an SMP, but nobody wants to talk about SMP. I think this is not necessarily it's a luxury product though, but as a country, people want to watch sports. And so for that reason, we should find a way out. MultiChoice, last week, I asked the minister about the exclusivity of MultiChoice arrangement that gives them the whole Africa the right to transmit and broadcast the sports content. And this has kind of killed pay TV market in Africa. And if as a country and as a continent, we want to see competition in the pay TV market, I'm sure that we should be able to wrestle with that practice of the exclusivity in their sports content. In the US, for example, no single TV network is giving the exclusivity in the any sports content. You can watch them on Sports Fox. You can watch them on ESPN.
But
you can watch them
Apia, 1 second. Who gave exclusivity to these companies? It's not Ghana.
No,
It's their
I mean,
marketing model. It's the thing they
no,
offer.
but
Why don't you go and watch?
Franklin,
Why don't you go and watch the Chinese one? What was it, that decoder? Even Indian had a decoder some time ago. Premiership was so. I can say, I'm watching Premiership. You're telling me nobody has anybody forced the Chinese not to put the Premiership on their decoder. Nobody has forced them. They should go and buy.
but you know that so long as an action by the upstream content providers leads to I mean an uncompetitive dynamics in the downstream market where we are, I think that a relevant law, if AFCFTA Competition Authority were to be in place, I'm sure that this issue the authority could address within the framework of after laws, because what is happening, exclusivity in licensing is not allowing the pay TV market to be competitive. So nobody wants to come in and set up a pay TV.
But this is where you are wrong. This is where you are wrong. There's no exclusivity anywhere. Nobody has been asked not to go and sign up to a Premiership. Look, if you and I get $1 billion right now, we can go to the Premiership and tell them, look, we think we want to compete. If you can pay more, get in. There's no exclusivity anywhere.
No, but they don't sell it to no. They don't
No,
sell
it appears multi-choice has the rights now, and so they are the only people.
Yeah, but that's the point. They have the rights. My point is
no, but the right is sold to only one operator in the whole of Africa, and that is where the problem is.
But money is the game. If I go,
money is the game, but
no. If I have more money than if I have more money.
Yes. Hello. Yeah. I think we're having some difficulty. So Haruna, I mean, it does appear that people, I don't Haruna, Hamza, it does appear that it's really a divided view. Like what Franklin the point he just made, you don't expect a minister to go that route, engaging a business entity in the manner it did, sends wrong signals to people, etc., etc.
I think that
you should focus on policy and make the policy drive the sector.
I made that point earlier, that people are entitled to their opinions, especially when it comes to how the minister approached the engagement process. And I respect the views of Franklin Kuju on that matter. And I don't think that it was intended as a malice. So as a government that has made a commitment to listening to constructive criticisms, I'm sure that the minister responsible for communications will take that in his stride and try as much as possible, possibly, to take account of many of these concerns going forward. I don't personally have a problem with that suggestion at all. But quickly, Salom, there's one point that I need to set straight. Yes, as part of his mandate, he's supposed to drive policy. But Ghana is not run solely on the principles of free market economy. We understand that we are a developing country, especially we are dealing with a political party that has its suspicions when it comes to free market economy. And so we pride ourselves in some measure of regulation. And I had no problem whatsoever with the minister attempting to use regulation as a way of getting multi-choice to succumb.
But the criticism is that
many of the concerns that we have in the sector.
It's not their fault that they have exclusive right to something like premiership. You engage them behind the scenes and not in the way it's been done.
It is not their fault that they have access to exclusive packaging, for instance, like the premiership you made reference to. But it doesn't mean that Ghana is a lawless country. They are operating within the laws of Ghana. And so if there's a way we can take
the laws of Ghana say what? I mean,
if there's a way, if there's a way we feel, based on the laws available to us, that look, this is a country that is big, this is an institution that is trying to take advantage of our internal systems, it is only fair that we respond. For example, if you announce an increment based on the exchange regime prevailing at the time, and there's evidence to suggest otherwise now, that look, indeed, the city is doing well. It is only fair for the government of the day to make certain demands of you based on your earlier announcement you made in terms of your price adjustments formula. And that was what the Honorable Minister sought to portray. And that was the basis of his engagement with multi-choice. And like I indicated, I don't think that this is an issue that we must continue to flog. I have listened to the views of the likes of Franklin Cudjoe. I do not think that these are views soaked in malice. I think that they want the betterment of the industry and they are wishing the minister well. It is only proper and fair that we listen to many of these criticisms. And I'm sure, knowing Sam George, he's paying attention to many of these concerns that are not laced with malice, like we saw yesterday in relation to the statement that was read by the minority in parliament. So we will take that in our strides. We will not behave like the New Patriotic Party and condemn any form of constructive criticism leveled against our government appointees or our government. And so I can assure you that the minister will listen attentively to many of these constructive engagements and possibly going forward would make some adjustments. Many of us, like Franklin indicated, also were of the view that indeed many of these things could have been championed by the NCA. But knowing the personality Sam George, he is an advocate. And the laws, no law prevented him from actually leading the process in any case. And so he thought that it was better for his personality to drive the whole engagement process and to ensure or to send the right signals to multi-choice that, look, this is something the government of the day is interested in. And you cannot fault him for thinking so. But now that we have taken stock of the engagement, concerns have been raised. Going forward as a responsible government that is sensitive to the views of the Ghanaian people, I am positive that we will take that seriously and consider it. And going forward, I think that the minister responsible for communications would be mindful in terms of the kind of strategies that he deploy in promoting the interests of the Ghanaian people. But when it comes to issues of affordability, you cannot take that for granted. So, and I think that that was what drove the minister's desire to ensure that whatever service multi-choice is providing, it is affordable to the Ghanaian people.
I see. This is a big issue. We'll take a short break. When we return, we will wrap up this conversation with my Zoom guests, and then we will use the rest of the time to deal with the issue of Galamsey. This is a big issue on 97.3 City FM and on ChannelOne TV. Your messages are welcome via WhatsApp line 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. We'll be right back. This is the big issue. Don't go away. All right, you're welcome back. This is a big issue coming to you from 97.3 City FM and on ChannelOne Television. We are also live on YouTube, and we are happy to hear from you. My guest discussing the DSTV prize row is Franklin Cudjoe, President, Money Africa, Apia Kusi Adomako, West African Regional Director of CATS International, Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, and Hamza Suini, member of the NDC Communications team. A few of your messages that have come through. This one's from Haruna Sani in WA says, power breeds arrogance. Just within 9 months, the NDC communicators have developed a foul mouth. I've heard a few of them on TV programs using condescending tones on colleagues in the programs. This one from James from Kaswa says, Charlie, Franklin has destroyed Honorable Sam George this morning. The gun has killed myself. I want Hamza to respond to what Franklin has just said about the minister's posture and engagement in juxtaposition to what he said earlier. And you see, Salon, can you let Hamza respond to this? This is James from Kaswa. So Hamza, take note. This one from Papa Bisu in Spintex. He says, hi, Salon. I totally disagree with the position of Franklin Cudjoe on Honorable Sam George relative to the DSTV issue. Fact is, Ghana needs a hammer to dismantle the DSTV pricing, hence the minister's intervention and not the Nkiti intervention. Truth be told, DSTV subscribers are very happy with the new rates in reduction. Let's celebrate Sam George. Haruna, mixed reactions. People think that some work has been done. Others also think the posture is not the best. But certainly, consensus is that dismissing him is not the way to go.
For me, Salom, I'm very constant with what I say. that what the minister did is absolutely a charade. The minister did nothing with regards to the DSTV. DSTV has always been running promotion, either in increase in value or other activities that they do to inure to the benefit of the general public who will subscribe to the DSTV product. So for me, the minister have not achieved anything for us. Not at all. This is a private company. And in the conversation I've heard about the issue of market share, they have a larger market.
He says if you are on compact, you can pay lower and then go back, even though you disagree with the first.
Why are you using if? Take the if away. It's a if. It's a conditional clause. It is when you want. It's the taste of the customer.
You said you want more channels. By force.
You not instruct customers to do what you want. The point is that
frankly, let him make his point here.
You promise us a price reduction, and you can't obviously be the PRO for multi-choice. And when you are asked questions and you're talking about grammar, blowing up arrogance over a national television, questioning the integrity of media persons in Ghana, and insulting the intelligence of the people of Ghana, that is absolutely not right. So market share is what defines every private company. And DSTV is a private company. If you think that you want to get something out of their market share or you want to compete with them, you go and gather the value of money that you can use to compete with them and go and take some part of the market share. So it is not right for a minister to engage himself in such a manner when in fact there are regulatory bodies that is going to do so. Assuming, Solomon, a bank is overcharging interest rate, do you expect the finance minister of the Bank of Ghana governor to go after the person? Okay, so there are regulatory bodies. You see, Sam George has taken what he had in opposition and he thinks that that is what he has to use in government. He has to change his way of doing things. But I am very resolute in my mind that there is nothing that has been done on the DSTV matter by any agency or ministry in government. It is absolutely the doing of the DSTV. Whether Sam George was there or not, certainly there would have been promotions. And before we even get to December, we will be getting other promotions, exercises that will be coming from DSTV. So I think that the right and appropriate organizations or regulatory bodies must be put to work rather than Mr. Sam George, the minister, engaging himself in some of these tangential issues. So he has achieved nothing. As to whether he should resign or not, it is his decision. But he has exhibited enough incompetence.
But your people made a call on him to do so.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a decision. It's a decision. You can call him and he may decide to resign or he would not resign. But the point is that
he enjoy the free channels. He enjoy the free channels.
Obviously, Franklin, my DSTV is always an access. So I don't have time to watch TV. I don't have, even if you increase my value, I don't need it because I don't need any extra value to go and watch because I don't have that time. Apart from the work I do, there's family activities that I have to, a lot of things is on me. So I've left DSTV watching for the past 4 years since I became a deputy general secretary and even deputy communications director of the party. I've not engaged myself in those much. So it's not every customer that needs increase in value, but it is every customer that needs decrease in the cost or the reduction in the cost. So when you achieve increase in value, it does not necessarily mean you have achieved anything. And it is not the minister's achievement. It is the decision of DSTV. Why will you go into a meeting, all of you will speak on a particular matter? DSTV comes to make their point besides you. Then you call them back in again to reconcile what they have done to suit what you want. The minister should stop that. He should find something.
But Haruna, do you know that for a fact? Do you know that for a fact? That
no,
after
but
the meeting, they call them back.
Salom, you don't need anybody to tell you this. We went into a meeting. We agreed on something. We had a discussion. We came out. You went to speak on a different matter. I came to speak on the matter that concerns policy in terms of what DSTV should be.
Haruna, let me talk at you, Haruna. In actual fact, what should have been done sensibly is for the minister and the DSTV people to have sat down and then issue this statement. But he rather went ahead, issued statement on behalf of the company, and the company said, no, we didn't say that. That's exactly what Haruna is
No,
saying.
but they address the press together.
That's not, I don't want my minister to be doing that. I want my minister to be respected. I want my minister to sit down and say, look, this is the way it should be. He should have sat down with the, even if I said he was not supposed to be in that business in the first place, he should have sat down with the people, come together, the CEO, and then they announce it. Then there will be nobody, you will not even be lecturing anybody in English language.
Very well.
Everybody would have understood it.
But frankly,
that's what I'm saying. So this was not the minister's business to start with the first. Somebody in this office, someone lower, even the national service person should have been engaged to be handling this matter.
Frankly, that's a stretch. Haruna, just conclude this and let me bring in Apia and we make progress.
And even in such matters.
So Haruna, is it the way you're happy with Franklin today?
No, but Franklin said I should not even be commenting on this matter. I heard it.
Okay.
I heard it very. But today Franklin is very happy in this particular conversation because the way he rattled his guy, I thought that I should also bring my guy in, but I decided to reserve my guy. But to be very frank, to be very honest, the minister has achieved nothing. He has not achieved anything.
Very well.
And I'm happy that Franklin has pointed to a fact that because Hamza had made a point that there was a sway from the media engagement, that they had the agreement that they joint media. There was nothing like a joint media engagement.
Joint statement.
It was
no, but DSTV
separate
itself, in their
engagement.
statement, DSTV itself have said that. They said that following our recent joint press conference with the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, the National Communications Authority, MultiChoice Africa, MultiChoice Ghana, we wish to clarify the FAQs published on our website, which created an erroneous impression of a contradiction.
Did they have any joint media engagement?
Wait, before you go ahead.
Joint press conference.
Did you realize something?
Yes.
Wait, Haruna, wait. Salom, did you realize something? Did you, if you monitor the timeline, DSTV should have issued a statement immediately suggesting that the joint conversation, this was issued after the third press conference. The first one they issued was to tell you the FAQ. They didn't even refer to the minister's efforts. Did you notice that?
Yes.
It was after the third or fourth statement that they now say, given the recent conversation with the minister, they didn't even respect our minister. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Their first, second, third statement did not even reference the conversations about the conversation. That's what I'm angry.
All right, order. No, Haruna, I'll give you the last word.
The minister did not have any effort in it. It was
very well, Haruna. Let me speak to Apia now. Haruna, I think your point is made. Apia Kusi, what should be the way forward on this in a minute or two?
Okay. I think the minister should allow NCA to assert its role with regards to any issues involving multi-choice. That is number one. And number two, NCA should engage in a way that it becomes a win-win for consumers and also the commercial interests of multi-choice. I mean, as a consumer, I wouldn't be happy if I see that the multi-choice is no longer in the market. Dr. Atufose will not be happy because about 26% of the value of the subscription fee we pay comes to him in the form of taxes. And so we need to be very mindful. And then also, we should also be looking at how we can use competition law in Ghana and across Africa to ensure we have a more competitive pay TV market in a way that we can cure any acts of monopoly and abuse of dominance in the pay TV market.
Very well. Thanks so much.
Can I make a comment?
Frankly, 2 seconds.
Last comment.
2 seconds.
Listen, I've worked with many multinationals in the world, right? I used to consult for Big Pharma. They fly me business class, pay me 10,000 for speaking for 15 minutes.
No, you're a big man. We know that, frankly.
I've dealt with the likes of Diageo. No, I'm just telling you.
Yes.
I've dealt with the likes of Diageo. Do you know that the current rules concerning advertising on alcohol beverages was a result of my work with the alcohol industry in Ghana? Did you know? That was when the former, the man who died, the FDB guy, the MPP man, Ejako. I worked with Ejako. Ejako was not this intrusive. Ejako said, we understand what you're saying. Can we compare the market rates? Can we compare the rules in other markets? And that's how we dealt with this whole idea of advertising. This is not rocket science.
Very
you
well.
don't use your weight and throw your weight about.
Very well.
You just sit down and talk policy.
Great.
And I'm saying that I've done this bigger, and I can teach him a few things.
That's fine.
It's
Great.
about 10 years ago, by the way.
Nice one. Hamza, your final word.
With the greatest of respect to the sentiments of Franklin, I think that he's also demonstrating the very thing that he cautioned the minister responsible for communications against. You have raised concerns about the conduct of the said minister. You have expressed concern about his handling of the situation. It does not mean that we agree with you fully. But like I indicated, as a government that is committed to listening to all kinds of opinions, it is only proper that we respect your views. But for you to have further stretched it about questioning now clearly the competence of the minister and comparing that to yours is something that many of us would not countenance, in all honesty. Because it is not as if, in principle, we disagree with the position of the minister responsible for communications. Not at all.
His approach.
We do not even disagree with the approach. He has raised concerns with the approach. We may be wrong for not disagreeing with his approach. And that is why I made the point that, look, we would not dismiss his concerns and his views in terms of the approach. It does not mean that I agree entirely with his position that the approach was problematic. I do not think that the approach was problematic. That's why I made the point that I do not see where it is stated in the laws that what the gentleman did was clearly out of place in terms of our laws. You have raised concerns because he's dealing with a multinational corporation. There's the need for him to exhibit, in your own judgment, certain behavioral traits, which I respect and have argued that possibly the minister will listen to it. But to go the extra mile of clearly questioning his competence is something that...
I'm saying that's not true. I
No,
didn't
he didn't question his
That's not
competence.
true.
I think his problem was with
I actually
approach.
said, I actually praised him and said
His approach
he's a
is
great
what
guy.
he questioned.
He's a much more smarter. But what he was doing was beneath the role of a minister who is supposed to drive policy. That's what I'm saying.
No, I think that then the confusion, Franklin, I think that then the confusion comes from your comparison of what happened under you and that of the late Ajako.
No, he said he's done a few things.
Absolutely.
So
And so that's why I got that bit, and I was a bit concerned. So if you did not question it, I respect
he didn't.
I take it out.
As a
If
matter
you
of
did
fact,
not,
he
but in terms of the concerns being raised about the possible best way that the situation could have been handled, I don't think that I faulted you on that, and that's why I made the point that I respect it. But from where I am seated, in all honesty, knowing the gentleman Sam George and appreciating the party ideological perspective he's coming from, especially when it comes to our engagement with such corporations, he can be forgiven. To understand that, of course, his conduct will reflect to a very large extent the ideals of the National Democratic Congress. I can understand why. I can understand why the likes
Franklin, hang in there.
Franklin,
No, just
please,
conclude.
please.
Sorry, what ideology is that? Sorry, I'm sorry, Hamza.
Social democracy.
I beg you, let's have a conversation.
I don't think that the
social
conversation
democracy.
is about regulation, especially. We are not operating a free market economy.
These are free market.
We are not. NDC, we do not. We do not
Franklin,
believe.
let's make progress on this. We can have a discussion.
Frankly, we can have a discussion on that. But when it comes to the ideology, I don't think that the political party that we represent
Very well.
believes in a free market economy. We believe in some measure of regulation, especially when it comes to the economy. And we have demonstrated that in our activities.
Good. All right, so that's Haruna.
That's the end of it. I needed to respond briefly to Haruna, please.
Oh, no.
Please,
give me 1 second. I'll give you 1 second to do that.
You see, again, listening to the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, and also the juxtaposing that with the press conference of the MPP, one thing is clear, and I've made that point severally. The move against Sam George is not rooted in current happenings. Absolutely not. You see, the MPP has identified certain leading members of the National Democratic Congress who are members of this government largely because of the work they did in opposition. The likes of the Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa and that of Sam George. And so when you listen to them, you can appreciate the personalization. And it was not I was not surprised when they called for the minister to resign based on absolutely nothing. And that is why it is difficult for right-thinking Ghanaians like Franklin to agree with the NPP.
No, let's make progress.
You have to give me some few seconds to also respond.
Oh, no.
Haruna, it's politics, isn't it?
Of course.
All right, Haruna, it's politics. I'm coming to an area I'm sure
so we can understand your disdain and dislike for the likes of...
We'll take a short break.
Your press conferences will not go anywhere beyond the 4 walls of Parliament.
The microphone is off. When we come back, we'll deal with Galamsey, and I'm sure Haruna will be happy to share a few thoughts on that as well. The president met with CSOs earlier in the week, yesterday, and they said a few things. So, in fact, so we can continue for a no break, now that Haruna and Hamza are quiet. Now, the President, John Dramani Mahama, says he will not hesitate to declare state of emergency in areas affected by illegal mining, commonly known as Galamsey, if Ghana's National Security Council advises him that that is the necessary thing to do. Speaking during a stakeholder engagement on illegal mining in Accra, the President stated that although he holds the constitutional power to declare a state of emergency, such action must be based on advice from the National Security Council, which at present believes the battle against Galamsey can be won through existing legal and security frameworks. ChannelOne News' presidential correspondent, Akosia Ochre, reports.
Yes, I have the power to do it. But the president acts on the authority, not only on the authority, on the advice of the National Security Council. And as at now, this moment, the National Security Council believes that we can win the fight against Galamsey without a state of emergency. The day they advise me otherwise, that, boss, now we need a state of emergency, I will not hesitate in declaring a state of emergency. Lessons learned were that in the next wave, with the formation of NIMOS, that we must deploy the military on a sustained basis, rather than when we make some wins, we withdraw them. But it comes with a cost, because if you send troops and station them permanently to guard the forest reserves, we must feed them, we must provide them with fuel, we must give them vehicles and all the logistics they need to be able to do that. And so that links up with Franklin's question about budget. We need a substantially bigger budget than we have currently to be able to win this war. Happily, budget hearings have started. The budget for next year is going to be presented to Parliament. And my expectation is that the Minister of Finance will give a much bigger allocation to this fight against Galamsey.
Doc, this is the moment that CSOs, Ghanaians, even governments have been waiting for, to have this democratic exercise, seek public opinions from critical groups like you and all of that. Let me first of all take your impression of this engagement.
Well, I think that it's good that engagement has happened. And you saw that we came into the room with some points that have been made. And then the point also has to be made that the president has demonstrated it. You saw him ending it talking about the political will to be able to do stuff. The minister has been doing a lot of activity, and fortunately for the coalition, we had met the minister already. So a lot of the things that are being said, we knew, we've heard about it. Unfortunately, the things that we came here asking for, a clear definition of what success would be, the milestones that would take us to where we're going to get to, the timelines, the specificities, we didn't get it. You saw the question that was even asked about the budget. We believe that the Minister for Land needs a lot of budget. There was no specificity about it.
The President admitted that with the budget question, the Finance Minister would have to make it bigger so that this fight can go on.
So you just said bigger. What is the amount?
Okay.
And what is the sources for it? It is the reason. You see, under a state of emergency, you are able to mobilize resources to be able to deal with the challenges that we're talking about. So again, it is positive that these engagements are going on, but the issues around the specificities, we didn't get that. Issues around the politically exposed person, Akonta Mining we had. The AG told us about the two, but what about the Professor Frimpong Boate's report? The people who were named in that. There was a petition that we've given to the press. So I think so that's why our paper to the president is important. The specificities are important, in terms of the things that have been said to really resolve the issues. And so that's what we are still going to be waiting for. And because we've submitted this paper to the president, we hope that we'll get some response.
Okay, but are you satisfied generally with some of the responses from governments in terms of the minister, the president himself?
The specificities are the things that we need to. If you look at the next steps that the minister talked about, some of them have timelines, but some of them are still missing, and we need to push to be able to get that.
But are you satisfied?
I So I don't know how you want the question answered. I said the specificities, some of them are absent. Fortunately, we've issued a paper to the president. We hope to get that. Those that are missing, we still need to get that.
All right, so you heard earlier the president speak, and then Kanashibe, who has been leading the coalition against illegal mining, also speaking to my colleague Akosia Ochre there. Let me start off with Franklin. Franklin, you were in that meeting. I heard you ask a question about the budget of money and all of that. Let me ask you Akosia's question. Were you satisfied with the engagement and the things that came out?
Yes, I said about 60% satisfied about the way the program was conducted because one, there was no agenda to start off with, remember? So we didn't know what we were going to discuss. But then I was happy to see that at least some PowerPoint presentation was made where we were given a scenario where we were before, where we currently are. But as Asigbe suggested, we didn't get a sense of where we are going. Where we are going was laced in a lot of optimism, which may be wise at this stage. But again, the optimism fell short because we didn't have the resources to match with. Which was why I sat down after many people asked a question. I decided to ask the question about resources because nobody seems to be talking about resources. We only want to say, do this, do that, do that, do that. And I recollect that the last administration voted 10 million Ghana cedis for Galamsey. But then this administration voted 50 million Ghana cedis for Galamsey. As you heard the president say, almost half of that money will be going to pay the Blue Water Guards. That means we'll be left with about 27 million Ghana cedis to do what exactly? To give to the NIMO people or to fuel cars to go where? So if you don't have a budget, that means you don't even have a plan to start off the Galamsey fight in the first place, and I'm worried. Anyway, which was the reason why I asked the question, which seems to have been referenced by the president and even the minister. I'm sure that would mean that they need to go back to the drawing table and estimate exactly how much it will cost to drive the problem away. By the way, I added the caution. You know, when you give a politician a blank check, I noticed when they seem to be quite happy saying that, oh, we need big budget. No, we'll question that budget and we'll accept the budget as well. But you see, if you don't have the money to start off with, then what are you really doing? You understand? And resources could come in many, many forms. Even though the minister was suggesting that you need to talk to corporate bodies. Corporate bodies must see a big vision where they'll contribute, put their money into, right? So I think that by and large, I was 60% happy with the way the format of the program went. At least there's been some noticeable successes. But I think there's a much, much bigger fight out there that we need to help them fight. And it starts with getting all the resources. And they need to come along with us for us to know exactly what they are budgeting, and then so that we can vet the budget itself. But we should be happy to provide the money so that they get on with the work.
I see. Apiakusi, you were also in that meeting. What were your takeaways from the meeting? Did it appear to you from the meeting that there was commitment and political will beyond the rhetorics to deal with the scourge or the menace of Galamsey?
Yeah, Solomon, I would say that yesterday's meeting is indicative of the fact that this very administration is committed in tackling Galamsey head on. That is the optics of it. Sometimes people may burn with the high blood pressure of beliefs, but then they have anemia of the deeds. And so that is one thing. But when we heard of the NIMOS, and happily enough, the NIMOS commander was my senior Prempeh College, Colonel Abwa.
Okay.
And they were also very clear on what, but sometimes the military will be on the ground doing their work and a call may come from the party chair or whoever, a big man in Accra, and say, please stop. And that is where the problem is. If we give the frontline people the opportunity to work, I'm sure that they will be able to make progress on Galamsey. And Galamsey, I think we've also been blaming the leaders, government for inaction. What are we also doing at the micro level? For example, my mother has a piece of land in the Ashanti region, and people have approached us to use it for Galamsey, which I've said no. They came back, double the offer. I said no. I said, look, even if they put $10 billion on the land, we will not accept that. I think that we need to look people's face and say, look, will not accept any money. Galamsey is wrong, and I will not mortgage the future of our nation on this short-term money that we are getting. Now, the other thing I also want to say that was quite missing from the whole Galamsey fight is that, of course, we are fighting Galamsey, and we have also learned that Kotomre, which used to be a mojedro, is now more like a poison now. And we didn't hear anything about the president or the minister, what they are doing to test the food that is come into our market, so that those that have metal residue on them, we need to block them. Because when I go to the market at Abubulushu or Kaneshi, if I'm buying yam, any yam that I see, I buy it. I don't have any gadget to test that those products that I'm buying are free from any heavy metals. And so we wanted to see to what extent is government doing to track and trace the food that is coming into our market, so that we don't. Yes, this morning I saw an article published in the Nature about the heavy dose of metals in the food that coming from in our mining sector. I think we need to also look at that, so that we do not purchase our death on an installment plan.
I see.
And again, also, let me also say that we also need to give our research institutions, frontline research institutions, money. I think we are giving all the money to the Galamsey fight, but some needs to go to Ghana Standards Authority, Food and Drugs Authority, our investor research institutions, for them to also be able to do research on in terms of what is the push and the pull factors, also the food, the water. Yesterday, the Director General for Water Resource Commission came with a report on the turbidity level. Of course, I mean, turbidity level tells you the cleanness of the water, but there may be some poisonous substance that may not cause the water to be turbid, but then you may see the water to be clear, but still polluted.
I see. So from the turbidity, solid point you're making, but from the turbidity levels shown you yesterday, how did it appear? Getting better or the same or getting worse?
And I think these figures show some improvement. But of course, they may not, they may have selected where the figures are good. And he admitted that some areas, the turbidity level is getting bad. And I think it would have been better for them to have sampled about 50 areas and brought the figure for us to see than showcasing the poster areas where the turbidity level. But of course, turbidity level is not the only thing that there may be some arsenic substance, carcinogenic substance that may not affect turbidity level, but it will still be poisonous and harmful to the human life. That we also need to do that. And yesterday, I also didn't hear of the control of substances that are used for Galamsey, the liquid. The minister talked of banning, a new regulatory regime for excavators and the chamfans. But what are the mercury? What about those chemicals that are being used? What is the level of regulation on it? I mean, this is also something that if we are able to also control the market of those products, I think that Galamsey, we may be able to make a progress in our fight against Galamsey.
Great. Haruna, yes, President met the people, told them what he met, what he's working on. That is progress, is it not? President openly engaging civil society, the most, critics of his people in terms of policy, etc., trying to tell them that this is where he has come. That's quite some transparency and openness. Is that not it?
There's nothing like openness and transparency. That's a mark of failure. I am saying so because the president in opposition is not just the president. He's a former president of the Republic of Ghana when he was in opposition. He has been in government before. He has been vice president. He became president. And at the time he was vice president, President Mills was complaining about the issue of Galamsey. And some work was being done. He became president and he governed this country as a sitting president. He knew everything about what Galamsey was. He became a former president. That means that he became a statesman. and he knew whatever it was, fighting on to come back to power. And he was very emphatic in his mind and the position of the party he was the leader, which is the NDC. What informed His Excellency's decision as a candidate for the NDC to say that they should call, or he was calling for the state of emergency? What informed his decision at the time? At that time,
did the president
you know
then
very
in
well that
opposition say that
yes,
he was calling for state of emergency?
Yes, the party, the entire party that he was leading,
because
including himself.
I heard a sitting that say he never called for it. People said, but
he can say that. But look, you can easily go back and make all those checks. They called for the state of emergency, including himself. And he was the leader of the party. And he's still the leader of the party. And that was the position. And even in their campaign, their manifesto launch, this was clearly indicated. What informed their decision to call for a state of emergency? What informed their decision? This is the first question. Again, I've heard Franklin said that there was no agenda for the meeting, and he's scoring for 60% for what has happened. You see, how can you go to a very crucial meeting, a meeting that you think that you have posited so much policies to be able to address the issues of Galamsey, that you don't have an agenda to even have a discussion with the CSOs? That is a failure, because indirectly you don't even know what you want to discuss with them. You don't even have a plan as to what you want to discuss with them. And if you cast your mind back in the opposition days, the president had the ample time to meet with the CSOs. The CSOs are not members of government. They are not members who work for the government of the day. And he had the opportunity. He met with them. The CSOs made their point very clear, and they added their voice to the call for state of emergency. These are the very CSOs who made their point for the call of the state of emergency. And the president is telling us today that he has to listen to the advice from the National Security Council. Is the National Security Council formed after 7th of January 2025? Was they formed after that? It tells you that the National Security Council has been in existence. So did he focus his mind back to the point that the president at the time, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will have to listen to the advice of the National Security Council? Today he's telling us that he has to listen to them. And because of that, he cannot call for state of emergency. Well, Ghanaians will decipher and look at it and get to understand that this is somebody who wants to approbate and reprobate. This is somebody that is not going to be honest to us. This is somebody who is unprepared to tackle the manners of Galamsey. This is somebody who is not seeing that the lives of the people should be more protected. Because as we said today, Salom, 10 districts, 10 good districts in the central region. The region that his boss, his former boss, came from, former President Mills. The region that gave us the sitting vice president, 10 districts in the central region, cannot get water to drink. Water is life. Without water, we all perish. 10 good districts. What is more of a state of emergency than this? What is more of a national security issue than this?
If you solve the matter, you know, if you solve the matter,
Franklin, today you are too high. You are very, very high. You are very high.
All right. Let me bring in Hamza now. But you see, you've eloquently outlined the problems, but the problems they inherited from you. But let me.
No, but the point is that today, Salom, today, the president is changing our lives for money. That is what it is. It is what it is. It's changing our lives for money.
All right, great. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you so much. So Haruna, Hamza will have the final word on this. Yes. But Hamza, I mean, it's surely not looking good. A lot of promises were made to ban illegal mining. We've not seen. Of course, illegal is illegal. But that was a promise you made, and we understood that promise to mean that we were going to take more drastic measures to deal with the problem. And in the 120-day social contract, it said ban illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves.
And we have.
You know,
and we have.
We've not seen a lot of that.
We have. Selam, you see, first of all, it is important to understand the basis of this engagement by His Excellency President Mahama with the civil society organizations. I think that is one important stride we should not take for granted, the mark of accountability. Because after his engagement with the media, we appreciated the kind of confusion that certain responses more or less begged as far as the discourse on illegal mining is concerned. And so there was the need for government. It was quite clear that many of our civil society organizations, including those in the media, had some, for want of a better word, misunderstandings about government's approach as far as the illegal mining is concerned, and so concluded that the commitment was really not there. We did not behave like the New Patriotic Party or the regime that we just unseated. We decided to expand the frontiers of accountability because we could tell from the word go that there was some confusion in terms of our approach, and there was the need for us to have this engagement to be able to carry the civil society organizations along, because if they are on the same page with you and understand the kind of fight you are championing, they will be partners rather than sitting on the fence and only engage in criticism. And so it was the reason why His Excellency President Mahama decided to engage civil society organizations to make bare the blueprint of government when it comes to the strategy we have in confronting the menace of illegal mining.
Bamza, are you aware that the people of Ghana are getting disappointed, if not disappointed already, about the nature of the fight against Galamsey?
And that is the answer. That is why I
more
answered,
drastic.
Please, that is why I answered the question. That's why I answered that. Look, it is because of that feedback we got that bared this. Because it is not as if the government is not working. You cannot say a government in less than 9 months that has so far been successful in retrieving about 9 red forest zones is not working when it comes to the issue of Galamsey. You cannot say a government that on daily basis is engaged in discovering communities that hitherto we did not know existed under the previous regime is not working on the issue of illegal mining. You cannot say a government that has suddenly brought in place a licensing regime and tracking policy for excavators is not working.
But I see all of those works should
we
reflect
understood
in the stability levels.
Exactly. But we are making gains. If you followed the discourse yesterday, they enumerated a number of rivers that are beginning to see some progress. But we also concede that some of the situations, we have other river bodies that are worsening. We did not run away from that particular reality. But I need you to understand that, look, the reason why we had to make this engagement was simply to be bare or to open the facts to the good people of this country so that they can effectively police the activities of this government as far as the fight against illegal mining is concerned. That is historic in itself. 2, you would realize that as a result of that engagement, Selom, initially the calls were uniform for the declaration of state of emergency. And though we had indicated that we're not discounting the possibility of declaring a state of emergency, we were quite hesitant because we were convinced that the policies that we are rolling out so far are policies that would give us the needed results. But if at any point in time we feel doubtful about the outcome of these policies, His Excellency President Mahama would never shy away from invoking that constitutional obligation of a declaration of state of emergency. You would notice that as a result of that engagement, there was disagreement even amongst the civil society organizations that participated yesterday as to the declaration of the state of emergency. That was something we never knew existed, even amongst the CSOs. But that came out. Secondly, even the president of the Ghana Journalists Association had cause to confidently declare that until this engagement, he did not know that this was how deep government's fight was. As far as the fight, the issue of illegal mining. So you can,
what will success look like in
but
concluding?
His Excellency President Mahama in the presentation made it clear. We would begin to count our successes if our water bodies become clearer than we are seeing now. We'll begin to count our successes if we are able to reclaim many of these forests that have been destroyed. And our lands.
Not all of the forest, many.
Many, of course. But I would not sit here and be hypocritical. I wouldn't say that we can retrieve all in a matter of 4 years. Because like Franklin has indicated, it has to do with resources. And as to whether or not as a country we have the needed resources to be able to reclaim these lands is a discussion we need to have. It is one thing stopping the activities of illegal mining. It is another being able to reclaim the lands that have been destroyed already. And it requires huge resources in that regard for us to be able to effectively reclaim these lands.
Very well.
But you see, there's something the likes of Haruna are forgetting. And I am not surprised with this posture of the New Patriotic Party. We have decided to engage in the principle of accountability with civil society organizations. And he says that they don't need that.
Yes.
Because in their dictionary, such consultations are not there. When these civil society organizations rose in the past, they did not have the decency to hold these meaningful engagements so that they could contribute meaningfully to the fight against illegal mining. We would not go on this journey alone. We would go with those who are interested in the fight against Galamsey. And even if the MPP is truly committed to the fight against Galamsey, they should be more than willing to join the president and his government on this journey.
That's Hamza Suini, member of the NDC communications team, is a lawyer. Earlier, so of course on the program as well, Franklin Kudjo, President Money Africa, who was present at that meeting. You also heard Apia Kusi Adomako, West African Director for the CATS International, also in that meeting. And you heard Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, was on the program as well. My name is Selom Adunu. This is how we conclude to this edition of the program. Have a good afternoon.